Good evening. I'd like to call to order the city council meeting October 20th, 2020. If you'll stand with me, the mayor will do his thing.
Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for a wonderful city. Thank you for all the blessings that we have. We ask that you watch over the council tonight and make right and fair decisions. We want you to watch over our staff. We ask you to watch over our first responders and also our citizens as we go through a tough time with this, with the position that we're in across our country. We ask that what we do in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, will you pull the board, please?
Mayor Schutz.
Here.
Detman.
Present.
Ivy.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Carlisle.
Here. Okay, if there's anyone in the audience that's not on the agenda that'd like to speak, if you'll see Clerk Haley, she'll get you set up with the proper paperwork. Mayor's report.
Just a couple things. Is Kelly McGee here? I didn't see him come in. So anybody else from the Sunrise Rotary? We have a proclamation today. It was requested by the Sebring Sunrise Rotary for World Polio Day, so I'm going to read it from here. Whereas Rotary International is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. And whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus and in 1988 helped establish a global polio eradication initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on a threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than $2.1 billion in countless volunteer hours to protecting more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which will be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are providing much needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents. And whereas in addition to Rotary, the Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. Whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary members and more than 35,000 clubs throughout the world that sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in their local communities and abroad. Now therefore I be it proclaimed that I, John Shute, Mayor of the City of Sebring, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 24th, 2020 as World Polio Day, and encourage all citizens to join me in Rotary International to fight for a polio-free world. So,
Thank you, John.
put that into record. Just a couple other things. We've had a couple good events here. Dee and the Christian concert that she put on about 2 weekends ago, or 2 weekends ago, yes. Had a good turnout there. It was really kind of inspiring. It was all local people singing and that stuff, so it really kind of is a neat event. And then we also, that same night, kind of a little bit competing, they had a drive-in theater at the Fireman's Field for Hope Haven, benefit for that, and had good attendance at that. So we're slowly kind of getting back into the normal way of life, which is pretty encouraging to see. So, but had good turnout for both, and both real solid family events. But other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman's concerns, comments, liaison reports?
I just have one comment. I just want to remind everybody that we have the Grand Fondue New York cycling event this weekend. So we're going to have people Saturday and Sunday. I think the kids are Saturday and the adults are on Sunday. There's going to be a lot of bicycles around. So just to remind everybody, that's coming up. That should be a pretty neat event. First time we've ever had that here in Sebring. So.
Thank you, Charlie.
No report.
No report.
No report.
Okay. Okay, we'll move right along and, we have a consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any comments from the audience? From the councilman? Hold the board.
Denton.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes?
Stewart.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. Okay, old business, Veterans Beach Boat Ramp. This, Mr. Griffin and Marvin. Anybody here?
So, Greg Griffin, building official for the record. After reviewing and getting pricing back, the work that was requested has been completed. We've got a few things to clean up out there. We dove it today for closeout, a couple things that need to be addressed. However, after reviewing it, staff recommendation would be to table any further work until the ramp is open. We actually get to see people using the ramp to see if some of those needs are required. I mean, we're talking a significant amount of money. But of course, it's the council's pleasure.
When do you think it'll be finished, Greg?
Tal's working on, excavation point is working on the parking lot now. My expectation is they probably have 30 days of work and cleanup to do. So I would expect within the next 30 to 45 days.
I got a question on we ended up pouring the concrete straight across, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you did put some kind of PVC things there to where we can put the pylons down next to the gangway if we need to?
Correct.
Okay, so, but we're not gonna put those in yet, right?
Correct.
Okay. In your opinion, what happens if a boat gets up against that? Is it gonna bend it or not?
If the boat hits the gangway, I don't think it's gonna hurt the gangway. It may hurt the boat, but it won't hurt the gangway. The gangway is designed for 140 mile an hour exposure D hurricane force winds. It's stout. I'm not concerned about the gangway.
Okay.
If somebody hits the gangway hard enough to damage it, they will have lost control of their boat at speed. So it would be a
Okay.
significant problem.
Do we have any kind of a guarantee on that? Cause I'm a little concerned with the leverage, especially if a boat were to go up against it at the far end of it. You got the whole leverage on that hinge.
Well, you have standard construction guarantees. In the state of Florida, you have a year warranty on any work that's done. However, that's not gonna cover blatant neglect. You know, so if somebody crashes into it, you would go to the person who was operating the vessel and file a claim against them.
Okay, all right.
Any more
Are the
comments?
bumpers on, right? You put the bumpers?
The bumpers are on the fixed dock, and
Mhm.
the bumpers were on the floating dock, so they have been installed, yes,
Okay.
There's no bumpers on the gangway though, right?
correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, table any further work until the ramp has been operational through various water levels. Review it
Second.
again.
Okay, we had a motion and a second. Is there any comments from the audience? Any more comments up here? Hold the board.
Denton.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, we're gonna move on to new business, New Year's Eve, block party and car show. Mr. Tommy Brandt, come up and talk to us.
Good evening.
Good evening, buddy.
Gentlemen and lady. Yeah, excited to do it. We did it last year, New Year's Eve, and it went really well. Of course, we didn't have the COVID going on last year, but probably got a couple thousand throughout the evening show up. And this year seems like it's gonna be bigger. We've already got several car clubs interested in coming, which always helps the turnout as far as the car folks, but also people we've noticed since we've been traveling this summer. We put on events around the country similar to this, and people are excited to finally get out of their house and do something in the community. The ones that are concerned about the COVID thing generally don't come out. Half of them will have masks on, half of them probably won't, just to be honest with you. But generally, a car show or a block party kind of situation like this, the only close contact you have are families that are walking together, talking together. And block party the same way. Generally, they'll sit around in groups of family, and I don't think there'll be any concerns as far as that goes. But, it's exciting to me to see how the community's coming together. You know, there's really nothing to do here in general in Sebring anymore as a family, other than no bowling alley anymore. There's no movie theater anymore, so I'm excited to bring something again to the table as far as that goes.
I want to just say thank you very much for bringing this to us. I
Yes.
think it's a great thing, I really
You're
do.
welcome.
Especially New Year's. You know, we've needed an event like this for a long time. And,
You know, what was the neatest part about this last New Year's Eve that I never even thought was gonna happen? We have a stage set up and music playing and stuff, but about 9 o'clock at night, I invited all of the married couples to come down in front of the stage, and they didn't know what I was gonna ask, but I asked them all to dance together, and I asked them, first of all, just to look each other in the eye, and to just say I love you to each other. And my gosh, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I'm talking about tears. It's like they hadn't danced in years, or they hadn't just looked eye to eye and said I love you. So that's the kind of community we're trying to get going in this event that we're doing.
It's great. I think it's a great thing.
Our pleasure.
It was a good event.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, and we can only grow from it. I mean, there were some snafus as far as getting cars
Well.
parked and stuff.
You'll still have those.
Oh yeah, there'll always be.
Yeah, but that's okay. It all worked out. It was a good event.
And we do have another parking lot now that's in the process. Maybe it'll
Good.
be close to being done by the time that New Year's rolls around.
Good. And we
uh,
got some lighting fixed. Part of the problem last year was the street lights weren't quite bright enough
Uh-huh.
to see, so it's a little safer down there.
There you go. It's great.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the event as presented, conditioned upon providing the liability insurance.
I'll second that.
Comment. There's a note here saying that grant the Special Events Committee authority to make any changes as necessary. Wasn't
Yeah.
part of the motion, but it was a note there.
Yeah.
I'd add that.
He's requesting that be added.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it's part of their motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. It's part of the whole meeting. That's as presented.
As is presented. Okay. Well,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
we have a motion, a second. Is there anybody from the audience that'd like to speak? Any more comments? Hold the board, please.
Devin.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes?
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you New Year's
Appreciate it.
Eve. Okay, item 10B, it's a Blue Moon Bazaar. Tiffany. Tell us who you are.
Tiffany Cadzo, owner of Monserc Wine Bar on 140 North Commerce Avenue. We are planning an event on October 30th. It's a family-friendly event, mostly outdoor event, and we were wanting to have the street shut down in front of the business, mainly just for child safety. We're gonna do like a trunk or treat out there, line up cars so the kids can trick or treat, and we are turning the hair salon into a little haunted house. So we just thought it would be nice to not have to worry about somebody's child stumbling into the road, perhaps.
Good idea.
Anyone got any questions, comments?
Oh, sounds good. I think it's great that we have some Halloween events this year.
Yeah, a lot of fun has been canceled this year, so it'd be nice to have
It's terrible.
something.
It's time to have fun. Need a motion.
I'd like to approve the event as presented, conditioned upon providing liability insurance, naming the city as additional insured.
I'll second that.
Any comments from the audience? Any more comments up here? Hold the board.
Devin. Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Have some fun out there. Okay, 10C, conceptual approval of access easement to the property located at 740 Sunnyland Drive. Mr. Fields, Mr. Natelick, and Mr. Bennett. Introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, I'm Doug Bennett.
Renee
My
Bennett.
wife Renee.
Thank you.
I think Scott was gonna present it. I didn't know I was gonna present it. What we're asking for is easement in ingress egress to our property located on Sunnyland Drive next to the city maintenance facility that we have no access to now. It's approximately 4.5 acres. And Scott's suggestion was, I think, and some of you gentlemen, was that the access right of way be moved 20 foot off of Sunnyland towards the city property to give us access off of Sunnyland rather than the old easement which was around the lake. Am I correct?
Kind of.
Kind of.
The 20 feet is actually the width of the easement that we're looking to grant. And we met, Ken and I have both met with the Bennett in regards to this, and I've met with each of you, or Ken and or I have met with each of you to take a look at this. There does not appear to be good access to their property, and this would establish the ingress egress. So we're looking for conceptual approval to move forward with doing the proper survey and legal work in order to grant that access.
I grew up here, and back when I was growing up, there was a road that went just right where you're saying that was at.
I think, back in the 60s, that was closed off. So
Okay.
the city has it fenced all the way down to the lake.
Right.
Originally, there was. a
Yeah,
right
there
of
used to
way.
be a beach area back there.
Yes, sir.
And,
Back in the
and
day, there was-
bathrooms and stuff.
There,
You're
They're
right.
still there.
Are they?
Bathrooms and 2 dogs.
yes, sir, they're still there. When the city or whoever built the road there, Sunnyland, to go over the railroad track there's about 39 foot of our easement there to get in and out of. And it's probably a 10, 12 foot drop. There's no
Yeah,
way
right.
to get in there from Sunnyland.
That road's always been like that, but there was it was basically just kind of a dirt road that went back in there, but it was there.
They built
I
that
remember
up
it.
way back for the railroad to go around the lake there, so.
Right.
So we basically now we're landlocked. We don't have ingress egress to our
Right,
property.
yeah. Ken, you have anything you wanna say?
No, the corner portion, we're not using, don't anticipate using it. And I think it would be helpful to them if we granted it.
Yeah, okay. Alrighty, you wanna make a motion?
You have to move that fence over there though, right, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I make a motion, we instruct city staff to investigate the feasibility of granting an ingress easement over the city's real property as depicted in attachment B.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Does anyone in the audience wanna speak on this?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Will we put a time frame on that?
No. I mean, it's, the city staff will investigate, and
The reason I'm asking is there was available access, but there was a utility, structure that got put in place there, and that's why we can't get in any longer, and that's
Sure.
just been in the last 6 months.
right.
Yeah, so.
Duke
maybe-
Energy has put in a big, for lack of a term, con vault type thing there. We could drive in front of your property to get onto our property, but now we can't drive through there because it's not wide enough. There's no way to get in there.
Maybe 3 months.
What do you think about a time frame? I
Time
mean, I don't
frame
wanna
to-
lock ourselves into anything, but I can
Yeah.
tell you that we obviously don't wanna just sit on it either.
Right.
So I feel like, our staff
So-
is prudent and will do it in a timely manner.
One of the two major things that we foresee is, one, we're gonna have to ask Duke whether or not, you know, there's an issue there from a perspective of being able to get in and out, because that is an easement, I think, that's granted to them. So we're gonna have to check with them. And then, the second will be is we'll have to get a survey done.
Yeah, surveys.
But, yeah, that shouldn't take very much time.
Okay, so those
I
are the
don't,
two main.
I don't really foresee it taking
Too
that long.
Okay.
But we do need to get a response from Duke,
Yeah.
for sure, because they do have an easement there.
I would just also kind of ask that if there's any expense involved in having to move that you might bear the expense instead of the city. I don't know that there will be.
It wasn't there when we bought the property, and the city attorney had given us a letter of access that was our access at that time. So we felt like the burden's been put on us that wasn't there after we purchased the property.
5 years ago, we got a letter from the city attorney that said our access was Sunnyland. And he's seen it, and Mr. Fields has seen it as well.
Mhm.
You can't drive a swamp buggy down there. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, you gentlemen are welcome to go out there and look for yourselves.
I don't think Duke's gonna need to move that as part of this. If they do, I think this is gonna come back and, staff will give you an update. So I don't think
That would be
there's gonna
fine.
be that level of expense involved in this.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
That's on the road right away, so that wouldn't be something they would move. Especially the expense that it would cost, because they actually did a jack and bore to go underneath the railroad, so it would be astronomical
But then.
for them to move that. So that wouldn't be that.
So this ingress egress will not, that won't inhibit this ingress and egress then? They're stationed there?
If you've got your map up there, we can show you where it's at.
Yeah.
It's close to the road, and this is further away from the
Yeah,
road.
I don't believe it's going to, Rob's gonna get Duke's input.
Yeah, okay.
We don't
Well, the
really
motion
know
is-
what's underground right around it.
The motion is to investigate the feasibility.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Any more comments?
Comment here. Just a question, I guess, of Mr. Bennett. If the city incurs any expenses as a result of this, are you willing to reimburse them for that?
No.
Okay, then I guess. The answer is no?
That would be, no, sir.
Because of the
Be a
things you
new-
Because
described.
we've been through this before, and the answer from the city was, you have ingress egress from Sunnyland. We do not. We have 39 foot there, and you can't get, you could drive a bulldozer down it maybe, but that was through no fault of ours.
Did you accept the city's, let's call it, proposal back then when that occurred?
No, sir.
And you never brought it back then to the city
No,
council?
no, not till today. We were not ready to approach it at that time.
All right.
There
We
wasn't
didn't
a-
realize it was gonna be this difficult
Sure.
to get unlandlocked.
Scott, can I ask you, do you think there would be any, and how much ballpark expenses to the taxpayers?
I mean, the only thing
Facilitate.
the only thing I see at this point costing money will be the survey
Right.
itself and, the attorney's time and writing a legal description.
And moving
Or
the,
the
moving the
fence.
fence.
And then moving the fence, but I think,
Right.
I think Ken's already volunteered, doing that on behalf of the city.
Well, I don't know if we're at a point of negotiations here or not, but
Well,
I wanted to
this-
split. the the cost cost of of the the city. city. Anyway.
Yeah, this is just a feasibility.
Right, no, I understand that too, but I don't wanna get too far down the road if we don't have some kind of.
We've been going down this road for 5 years, sir.
And you guys should all have the memos. If not, we can produce those for
We've
you.
sent presentations to you before.
All right, the concept I don't have a problem with, but let's see what happens when the expenses start coming through there, and then we'll have a second bite at that apple.
That's fair.
Yep.
Any more comments?
It doesn't benefit us at all.
If not, Kathy, we call the board.
Denton.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lorenz.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Rod.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys. If we think anything improving property in Sebring will benefit Sebring.
Yes, ma'am, you will. Okay, 10D, Jennifer Code of Salisbury, one of my favorite people. And this is a discussion of potential modifications to the city metal building ordinance.
Thank you.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, how are y'all? For the record, Jennifer Cotto Salisbury with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. And I went low-tech tonight. I do have extra copies, probably not enough for everyone in the audience, but there's probably 20 here that I'll leave if anyone wants them. But for tonight's discussion about metal buildings, in the handout that you have before you, on the cover you'll see two buildings. One, no question, that's a metal building for sure. And the one below it is actually a metal building as well, although the metal structure is covered on the parts of the building that can be seen by the road, by drivers, and by pedestrians. So, looking at Sebring's code, we have section 26-183, and rather than reading that, because sometimes I get a little lost in reading it, what it really comes down to is you can have a metal building in the city of Sebring, but you need to make sure that pretty much we don't know it's a metal building, except if you're in C2, which is our heavy commercial zoning, light industrial, or public. So those three zoning districts, you can have a metal type of building, but the others you can have it, but we don't want to know about it. You need to cover it up. And so I know this topic has come up, and if you go to the next page, there are lots of different concepts for applicability. Some of the concepts that you see in the pictures, some local governments kind of look and say, we just care about what we can see from the road. Make that look nice. Other jurisdictions say, we want you to provide half of a treatment on the front facade that maybe is an accent, an aesthetic treatment, where the rest of the building can be metal, but as long as you have some design and aesthetic treatment there. Some local governments look at it from the standpoint of a site-by-site perspective. Where are you located? Again, what's your relationship to pedestrian and vehicle traffic? What about access, landscaping? Who are your neighbors? And how you treat a building's appearance. If you go to page 3 in the handout, you'll see concepts in saying, hey, you can have a metal building, and we only care what it looks like where people can see it. And there are concepts for residential and non-residential buildings. Again, if you are on a main road, depending on the type of road, if you are on US 27, for example, the concept would be we want to make sure the front of it, we don't know it's a metal building, and half of the sides. So as you're driving by, you don't really tell that it's a metal building. For industrial uses, which generally, when we have industrial uses there, tend to be in more of an intense area, so cover the front and then 25% of the sides. And again, these are concepts. But as you go through the pages, there are also some drawings of what buildings can look like with partial treatment, front and sides. If you go to page 8, if you're on a corner, then some local governments say both fronts need to be of a non-metal nature for the front of the building. I'm sorry, it's slide 8.
Yeah,
Sorry. And then there are examples of what industrial buildings might look like as well for an aesthetic treatment. So I really just wanted to come before you tonight to bring those concepts forward. The last page is a concept if you have a building at an angle. You might be looking at 100% coverage on 3 sides of the building, and then that very back not having coverage. And then lastly, this is just a photo of what that covering of metal looks like. and a lot of different options for materials for coverage. We are working with the CRA right now on concepts, but this policy, this section of the zoning code today applies citywide, and we knew you were having this discussion and wanted to bring these concepts forward. We did provide, which you probably received late last week, a table of about 16 of the local governments in the Central Florida region. About 16 of them today have guidelines or standards for building appearance. Many of those are applicable to a local government's downtown. Some of them are community-wide.
Have you seen the building that we're discussing, that this came about from?
I believe I have.
Jennifer, you said the CRA is looking at the same thing right now?
Yes.
Have they come up with a plan?
They had provided us with direction to come back with more information.
Oh.
So.
I just want to make the comment that we very easily can have two different sets of, plans, if you will. One for the CRA, which may be a little bit more stringent than citywide. There are some places in our city that have a number of metal buildings with nothing on them, no facades of any sort at the present time. And so, I just want to say that, again, we can have two sets of plans, one for the CRA district and or the historic district, and then one for the rest of the city. So I think we're talking about overall for the city now. The CRA will certainly probably tighten up in that area.
So the building in question is substantially taller than the building prior, the one that burnt down. And you see three sides of it really well. The back of it, I wouldn't have any problem about doing nothing with whatsoever. But both sides of it are very obvious from the road. And I feel like we should do something. There is a metal building right next to it that has nothing.
I think that's what we want to prevent going forward.
Yeah, so we're trying to alleviate that situation.
What I think is that we need to at least make it aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Like you said, if we look at some of these issues that you have here, it's 100% on the front and 50% on the side.
Right.
Which makes it more than what we've got now in a lot of those buildings, but it's still not, from a building standpoint, it's not an overly expensive option on it. And there are some nice looking buildings that you can design like that. And, I would recommend if you want to go down that road, maybe what's in here is pretty good. If you look at most of these cities here, they don't allow them.
Right.
I mean, though it's on your report.
Yeah.
It's like most of them don't allow metal corrugated build. They allow the building, but it's got to be covered. But and then I think, Charlie, really probably we need to kind of walk with the CRA to see what they're doing, to make sure that we don't cross too much with what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's probably just if they're going to the aspect that just it's got to be 100% covered. Then we can go. But if they come back and say we just want the front covered, then we're going to make it more restrictive in the city.
You're not gonna say that.
No, they're not. I'm just saying, but you don't know what, it's not out there. There's not a plan out there yet.
Yeah.
I think they certainly would want to know what council
Right.
Yeah.
was thinking as well.
Well, I personally believe the front of the building should be covered, period. And I also think that the sides need to be covered like 30%. A wainscot, partway up maybe, And the design that was brought to us at the last meeting with the diagonal trim
That looked
looked pretty
nice.
good.
It looked nice.
Although I don't think it was 30%. I think it was closer to 25%.
Yeah, Mark, can I ask you a question in
Sure.
regards to it? How much more, and I know this is a tough question, but how much
Mhm.
more is it gonna cost these guys to do that?
Yeah. So
Uh,
whenever somebody asks me that question, I say I need a set of prints to answer it.
Okay.
But
I mean, are we
it-
looking at?
it's not cheap. You know, hardy board is expensive, and the installation of hardy board's expensive. The stonework that some of our pictures show is very expensive.
Yeah,
So it's substantial. And I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was talking about the facade being as expensive as the building.
More expensive.
More expensive than the
Yeah,
building.
if he covered it 100%.
Yeah, and so I think that's
Yeah.
probably a reality in some cases.
Yeah.
So it's a major hit for a business person to have to do this.
Mhm.
That's why I think we should be as tolerant as we can without, and still retain the look that we're looking for. So I think 30% on the sides would, in my opinion, would be appropriate. And if you can't see it from the road, I wouldn't worry about it at all.
How about if you can see the whole thing, the whole
Well,
side from the road?
if you can see the whole thing, then the aesthetics tell, to me, you'd have to cover it.
Yeah, can we make that, contingent on the site plan, Bob, or?
But it sounds like you're talking about the slide 5 that she's handed out that talks about whether or not you front a single street that's on printed page 3,
Right.
or whether you're on a corner lot.
Right.
You've got two, you're facing two different streets.
Mhm.
You don't have to go with the percentages you see on that, but this seems like what you were talking about. The less of the building you see, the less you would require.
Right.
This has for the non-residential and residential, 100% in the front and then 50 on the sides.
Yeah,
And I could see that as well, except for I know what kind of money that's gonna cost.
When you can adjust the percentages, I think my point
Yeah.
is you can
No,
see
no,
that you
yeah.
require something different
Yeah.
where it's visible from two different
Yeah.
sides.
yeah, and the industrial is only 25% on the sides.
Yeah. Well, but what is that property zoned? It's probably, do we know?
Probably commercial.
The property that we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's C1, but
I'm fairly sure.
C1.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other property, Advanced Air, what is that? Is that zone C1 as well?
It is, but that one's in the CRA.
That's in the CRA district. That's even worse because there's more buildings everywhere around that one.
Right, you're talking about Mr.
It's just, and I completely
Mr. Gormley's here.
understand,
Yeah, it's
Right,
yeah, I completely understand his chagrin,
Yeah.
being like upset to have, but at the same time, we need to draw a line so we're not inundated with metal buildings that look like metal buildings.
And they
So
do
there's-
last a long time.
Yeah, so there's a balance somewhere, is my point.
I'm just gonna throw out another thought too, and that is landscaping, especially on the sides. Could we maybe substitute landscaping if you planted? Didn't see it, and that's just a thought because that's a whole lot cheaper than
Mhm.
doing the hardy board.
That's true. Although, this particular building has asphalt on both sides.
Right, yeah, but some of them may not. But maybe on a case-by-case basis, they could come back and
Yeah.
say, we could put trees there, and
It's
like.
kinda gotta be the same rule across.
Yeah.
Okay.
this particular building may be subject to the landscape code.
I can't hear you.
This particular building may be subject to the landscape code because it's
Full rebuild.
full rebuild.
Oh,
So then you have the hardy board covered up by landscaping.
Right.
That just doesn't seem right.
well, wouldn't that have already been addressed during permitting?
I'd have to
I would
go
think
back
so.
and look, but yes,
Yeah.
theoretically, you should be submitting a site plan with that new building. and
Yeah.
It ought to include, it should include
Yeah.
landscaping.
Well,
More than 50%, if you do more than 50% of the structure and or site, my understanding is it kicks in landscaping.
So if you put a hedge along the side of it, you've covered a portion of the metal building.
Well, but he has to cut out the asphalt, put irrigation in.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Back to this, do you want it to be in residential, or are we just talking commercial?
Gosh.
I don't-
Because again, we're talking citywide,
Mhm.
Right.
and they're sort of all over.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's an abundance of residential metal buildings. They're usually much smaller, but I know, there's piles of them. I've worked on a few of them, actually.
I have one in my backyard, so.
So I'm not sure what to say about that.
I think we need to include the residential also in some capacity, whether it's as much as the others or not, and particularly if it's visible from the street. If it's not visible from the street, I don't have any problem with metal buildings in residential.
Mhm.
If it's in somebody's backyard and nobody sees it, that's fine.
Yeah, this doesn't apply to accessory structures like sheds.
Right. But, and I don't know what's the difference between a shed and a structure? I mean,
The primary structure versus the accessory. The primary, this would apply to; the accessory, it would not.
okay,
That, as worded. Now you can of course change that.
right, okay.
We can try and bring back some examples and.
Can you, I mean, Kurt had a good idea about just, why don't we put together just a little committee to think about this and then also get, follow up with the CRA's doing.
That's really a
It
good
brings-
idea.
It's hard to sit here and say, okay, this is good, let's go with it.
No, I'm with you.
But I think we can get, council members and even maybe some guys from the public,
Sure.
from the contractors that have stuff.
Well, although he has an open building waiting for this.
Yeah, I know, but you don't wanna jump into it and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we didn't think about that.
Well, I think
And
we
there's-
determined
you
that he
find a big
could-
hole or something.
Well, we also determined he could close the building up and get a certificate of occupancy prior to this.
temporary CO.
Yes.
Temporary.
Yeah.
And we've done that before.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need more,
You just wanna have a
Information.
workshop, is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Can you put that together, Scott?
Do you want a workshop, or do you want like a committee where, more along the lines of, you pick 2 or 3, perhaps members of council and or some members of the public that's up to you all.
Well, if you do a workshop, the public can still come and put their input. I mean, that's just a
Right.
thought.
It's just one meeting, though. I don't know whether or not, whether you get this accomplished in one meeting or not. I can't say that,
Yeah.
speak to that.
The way it stands right now, they gotta cover it 100%, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and it costs more money to cover it than it does build the building.
Build, yeah.
And the other aspect is I've seen metal buildings that are covered 100%.
That look
They
terrible.
look like metal buildings all day long with some stucco, they just, it doesn't,
Yeah.
We can do, theoretically, we can do a workshop between you and CRA and members of the public, but,
That- yeah, if we
you're
do one.
likely only gonna have, I'm assuming, one of those. I guess you could, you could
I was gonna say, I think a little committee could
Well, that's fine.
meet a couple times.
All right, let's do a committee and then maybe we'll transition into a workshop.
Well, I'm gonna come back and say though that I think the CRA should be part of it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah.
So,
But-
would you wanna do like a couple members of CRA, a couple members of council?
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody wanna volunteer?
No.
I'm gonna volunteer Mark.
Being the construction man he is.
I don't have to be on it.
That'd be a definite.
I'll be glad to participate, but Mark, I think you should be on it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna weigh in real quick and say that I kinda like number 5 on here on our sheets, and I'm good with that.
Oh, you mean just following that format?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On page 3.
Yes, page 3.
I
and-
happen to agree with that as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty direct and pretty simple.
Yeah, and it does allow for less in the industrials and,
Yep.
and more if there's 2 streets and stuff. I kinda like that, actually.
It's a good start.
Okay. We'll use that as the basis.
So do we need a motion?
Is that a good start, or is that a motion?
I think that's just a start.
Yeah. Do we need a motion for that committee?
Yes.
I would think so, yes, sir.
Okay, and name the, well, okay.
And you'll ask the CRA to provide,
Okay.
recommend.
So you want a
I'm
motion,
told some of their
what you
people.
want a motion is at least 2 councilmen plus the RA.
Mhm.
And these will be advertised meetings since, you know,
Okay.
more than one
Okay.
councilperson.
Get the mayor too, cause he's very opinionated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think-
And we can put him down.
Well, if somebody needs to make the motion, I can't unless I pass the gavel. I'll throw it.
Make a motion that the mayor appoints 2 city council members, those being Mr. Carlisle and Mr. Stewart, for committees and to coordinate with the CRA as such.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion.
And you are appointed.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Is any comments from the audience? Yes, sir.
Would it be permissible if the owner of
You
this
need to come
building-
up here.
Oh, I do?
Yes, sir. You gotta tell us who you are.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't mind you talking, but we sure wanna know who you are.
My name is Frank. I really, citizen here in Sebring. Would it be permissible if the owner of this building would rent out the sides of his building for advertising for a mural like they do? That is not permissible?
Not for advertising based on the size of the structure.
Because
But if
there's-
they
because of
want
the
to
sign
they
ordinance.
wanna rent it out to some billboard company, that's illegal?
The sign ordinance would not allow that.
Okay, there's a sign ordinance also.
Correct.
But a mural would be,
Well,
Mural's
that's a
another
Lake,
story.
that's what Lake Placid, all these buildings.
right, the murals are okay.
Yeah.
A sign for advertising, not so.
Okay, just a thought.
Thank you.
You wanna volunteer to put that together?
Jeff Corley with Advanced Air on 316 Maple. Whatever you do, you need to move on it, okay? It's not gonna affect me now. I went ahead and put an offer on another building today. But the city has lost tax base because of it. And we'll, probably sell the building or whatever. The last CRA meeting I went to, Mr. Swain, informed me that I had to cite all of the building. Well, I already agreed to do the front and the side at a considerable cost. And then he was told me that I had to do all 4 sides. I said, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm not putting a building up where I'm located. That's gonna be worth more than every building around it in the ghetto. Okay? I just think that you need to, move on it and get it done for the next person. And basically, that's all I got to say. I tore 2 houses down, improved the area. I've owned that property for 20 years, and it would be probably the best looking building in the whole block, and I've been turned down. And it's just been going on for 6 months, and I couldn't wait no more. So I think that you all really need to move on it and expand the tax base in the city. I think that's what we all would like, and improve
Absolutely.
the city. So, but anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I agree with him. It needs to happen.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Any more comments? Any more up here? Kathy?
Devin,
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. Moving right along to 10E, and that would be our own Miss Penny Robbins. Son.
I
brought
back up.
Oh, boy. Don't be pointing at me. What happened to the good one? Oh. This is insurance committee recommendation.
There's one change that I just wanna point out to you when we get to that point,
When we get to that point.
when we get there.
Promise me after tonight you won't make any more stuff.
I hope not.
It's already part of it, right?
Yes.
It's already-
Yes.
Hey, has this changed from what was in our packet? I just wanna make
Yes.
sure. It has changed what's in
Yes.
our packet, okay.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am here to discuss with you the insurance committee recommendations for the health insurance plan here at the city. As you're aware, the city plan has incurred losses over the last few years. I expect a loss for the year that we just finished, fiscal year 1920. There's claims still to come in, so that number is still a moving number, but it is over 300,000, closer to 375,000 currently.
Can you reiterate the 2 previous year losses, please?
The 2 previous years, the city lost $600,000 in the plan. The claims exceeded the revenue that came in through contributions, whether it was from the employee, the city, retirees.
That was for 2 years.
For 2 years, so
600
about
each year.
$1.2 million. And the plan itself, rates have not increased since 2009. They've remained flat with no increases from the city employee contributions or retirees. The city has increased their contribution slightly, and they are, as you're aware, with the losses, they're subsidizing the plan greatly.
Is there a balance in the plan right now, Jenny?
The balance in the plan, I just calculated that it was $375,000 loss, so it should be around $600,000.
Okay.
So what I'd like to go over with you is the recommendations, and if you have any questions, I'm available to ask or answer them. The recommendations that are presented are adding teledoc is the first recommendation. This is a service that the employees can use. They can phone or video conference the physician, and then the physician will provide them with the prescription or the diagnosis, and they are available 24 hours, 7 days a week. There's a minimal cost to the plan of $1.50 per employee per month. When we ran the numbers, we felt that it was cost effective, that the current cost to the plan averages about $77 per office visit, and teledoc charges $55, and then there would be a copay employee portion to be paid from the $55.
So that would save how much?
About $40.
A visit?
Yes, sir. And we understand that this service will be used for if you have a cold, maybe a sinus infection, those types of things. Our employees are still going to go to their physicians for treatment if they're having other issues.
Do you have any numbers on other people using that or not?
I do not. I know that the sheriff's office, the county, their employees are allowed to use a similar service, but I do not know what the usage is. But based off of the number of office visits that employees' dependents, roughly 900 office visits last year, if 69 of those visits had been through teledoc, we would break even. So it was.
So if the employee calls up,
Yes,
that
sir.
doesn't cost the city anymore, is that correct?
That's correct.
It just, they have to pay, the employee has to pay something.
The employee will pay a copay, whether,
Copay, right.
depending on
Okay.
the plan they choose, they're gonna pay a $20 or a $15 copay.
Right.
And the city would then only pay $40 on a $55 is what teledoc charges. But we would only pay roughly $40 because the employee has a copay.
Okay, so we would, if they call up and use it, then we do still have to
We
pay.
still have
So if
a
they start, if
charge.
the employees start to quote-unquote abuse it or call it every little thing, it could cost us a lot more.
Potentially could.
Okay, thank you.
But there's only specific things that are allowable through the teledoc portion. It's not for your major
Yeah, it's not the major stuff I'm worried about, it's I got a splinter in my finger that I'm worried about. Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah, and that is the risk that somebody, employees are going to, with the convenience
All right.
of this program, that they may use it more often. It may be that we find that employees, instead of waiting 5 days to go to the doctor, call sooner, that they get back to work sooner.
Okay.
Part of the rationale behind the copay as well.
Yeah, right.
Because
They don't wanna pay $20 for the splinter either.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
The second recommendation is Surgery Plus. And Surgery Plus is a program that's utilized by the school board. And it's proven to be cost effective for them. They're showing cost savings of at least 40% on their procedures. There are a list of doctors, physicians, facilities that Surgery Plus has direct contracts with, that then if you need to have one of these surgical procedures, you call after you go to your primary care physician. They may recommend that you have a knee replaced. You can call Surgery Plus. Surgery Plus then assigns a care advocate to your plan, and then there's no cost to the employee. At least that's the recommendation from the committee, that there would be no cost to the employee to use Surgery Plus and that facility and that physician. Travel costs included. Number 3 is prescriptions, and the recommendation was to continue with the current network, which is the CVS Caremark network. We are going to do our best to educate our employees on the different programs that are out there that are available to them for prescription medications they're taking that could be at reduced cost or actually free, depending on where you have the prescription filled. So we have that information. We're going to have that available to them at the education sessions that we're going to host, and we will be going over that with them. Number 4 is the working spouse waiver. This would disallow coverage to a spouse that has the ability to have coverage through their employer. So if your spouse is currently on the city plan and they have the ability to obtain coverage through their employer, and that employer offers ACA compliant coverage, then we would disallow them onto the city plan. They would have to sign a form certifying that. They would take it to their employer, and if their employer says that, some people may be self-employed, which that would make them still eligible for the city plan. It would be only those that actually have a job that they have coverage at. Number 5 are the plan coverages, and that was the handout that I gave to you. There is a slight change that was brought to my attention when we were having meetings earlier this week, and so I just want to bring that to your attention. The plan changes are that the city will offer a base plan and a premium plan. The premium plan will be similar to the current plan, but with an increased deductible from $500 to $1,000, and the base plan will have a employee deductible of $2,500. The change that I want to bring to your attention is on the premium plan, the out-of-pocket limit was listed on the information that was previously distributed was $12,000 and $24,000 for family, and it has been changed here to $8,000 and $15,000. Keeps it more in line with the base plan. Some of these changes to the plan would include the copay for a primary care physician would increase to $40 regardless of the plan that you choose. Currently, the copay is $20. If you went to an out-of-network doctor, then you would, no change there. The plan would only pay 50% after your calendar year deductible. If you go to a specialist, currently you only pay a $20 copay, and that is increasing to $75. We added the telehealth, which is the teledoc. On the base plan, the member would pay $20 copay, and on the premium plan, the member would pay $15 copay. Routine wellness stays the same, and the employee bears no cost. The plan pays 100%. One thing that does change, because we are leaving our grandfathered status with these changes, is the well child. Currently, the plan only pays 80%, and with this plan option, either one of these, the plan will actually pay at 100%. Surgery Plus, the plan would pay at 100%. Imaging, currently the plan pays at 100%. And imaging could be an MRI, it could be a CT scan, and the recommendation was that the plan would pay 80% and the deductible would be waived. No change to prescriptions, the plan will still pay 80%. Diagnostic testing includes labs and x-rays. Currently, the plan pays 100%, and that's being recommended to change to 80% deductible waived. Good point. The mail order prescription, the employees would now have access to that service. Currently, all prescriptions have to be picked up at the pharmacy. Now you can do the mail orders. Urgent care would be a $40 copay to a premium plan member and 80% after deductible to the base. So the primary changes are the deductibles and the out-of-pocket limits and the copays. The next change that was recommended was for the retiree optional plan to be replaced with the high deductible base plan, and that retirees would pay the full cost of their insurance. There would be no subsidy.
How much is the subsidy now, Penny?
If you're looking at currently our retirees, if they're on the retiree plan, that's exactly the same plan that the city employees are eligible for. The subsidy is retiree cost, it's only $8, but retiree children, the subsidy is $442 per month. Retiree spouse is $558 per month, and retiree family is $1,140 per month. Those are numbers for the year that we just closed. Those are based on actual costs from the plan, and when our TPA went out to the reinsurance carrier to obtain a proposal, the Nationwide, who is the reinsurance carrier, is who ran these numbers, and gave us estimates and actuals for what the plan cost last year. And the final recommendation is the premium increases, and that is this sheet. And the committee came up with two options that they wanted to present to council. And I'll tell you that the committee, the voting members of the committee are Mayor Shoup, Clerk Haley, and Councilman Detman. And then there are non-voting members, which are Scott, Charlotte, myself, and Anchor Benefits.
You mean the mayor got a vote this time?
Yes, he did. He did.
Didn't want this one.
I'm sure you didn't want this one.
Yeah.
So if you look at option 1, and you look at the far left column, which are the current plan premiums, and then the middle columns are the base plan premium recommendations, and then the far right columns are the premium plan recommendations. And then that far right column is the estimated plan cost per month, and that is what Nationwide came up with of the actual cost of the plan per month for employee, spouse, child, and family. One other change that we made to the plan was that in the past it's been employee plus 1, plus 2, 3, however many, and employee plus family. And we have split out that employee plus 1 to be employee plus child, children, or employee plus spouse. So that was broken up in the proposal. So the center column, which is the base plan, if under option 1, there would be no cost to the employee for the health insurance coverage. The city would continue to contribute $812.90. For an employee plus child, which the employee is currently paying $259.46 for that coverage, would be increased to $300 per month, which is an increase of $40.54. Employee plus spouse is currently $259.46. Recommendation is to increase to $400, which is an increase of $140.54 per month. And employee family is currently $449.76, and the recommendation was to increase to $600, which equates to $150.24 per month. Under option 1, if council chose, the employee could choose the premium plan, which would be an increase of $100 per month to the employee. This is the far right side. The employee plus child would go to $400, which would be $140.54 increase. Employee plus spouse would go to $500, an increase of $240.54 per month. And employee plus family would be $700, or an increase of $250.24 per month. Again, when you look at the total columns and then you compare that to the far right column, that's estimated plan cost per month, you can see that we're still nowhere near covering our costs with these estimates. There's still a subsidy to the employee. The second option that the insurance committee was looking at was they took the increase from option 1 per month and they cut it in half. So if you look at in the center column, the base plan for under option 2, the employee is currently paying $259.46. The base plan option 2 would increase to $279.73, which is an increase of $20.27 per month. You can see that is half of the above $40.54 per month. And that just carries down through the spreadsheet. Same thing with the premium plan. The increase would be $41.93 to cover the full cost of the insurance. And employee plus child would go to $329.73, increase is $70.27, and so forth. I'm happy to go through each one of them if you would like. Certainly option 2 is less harsh to the employees. We've considered a lot of things as the committee. When we've looked at this, we've considered the wages, we've considered the increases, and we just know that the plan is suffering, and we don't want to move the city towards a fully insured plan. If we went to a fully insured plan, we would be looking at numbers that are comparable to what our TPA has recommended, because an outside insurance company is going to, they're not going to subsidize the plan. They're going to charge you full rates.
Right.
And they're gonna follow trend, which is
Trend.
anywhere from 15 to 20% or above national costs.
So, those are the recommendations. I can answer any questions, possibly, maybe.
This does, just for the record, this includes dental and vision.
There were no changes to dental or vision, and so those numbers are not reflected here.
Okay, but the premiums?
Those are in addition.
The premiums are in addition to these also?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, we were just focusing on the health insurance plan.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing is to consider is, like I said, all of the recommendations of the committee, the recommendation for the Teladoc Surgery Plus, prescriptions, the working spouse waiver, these plan coverage changes, the premiums, as well as the retiree rates. And the retiree rates are the full cost of the plan, which would be for an employee under option 1, would be $812.90. Under, for retiree plus child would be $1,302 per month. Employee plus spouse would be $1,401 per month. And a retiree plus family would be $2,125 per month. That is for the base plan.
Well, first of all, let me just say I appreciate the committee and all the hard work you guys did. I know this is not an easy task to do under the current circumstances. It's just the cost of healthcare is going up. It's going up astronomically. It has for the last 20 years. And we have had an excellent plan here in the past, and I think this is still a pretty awesome plan for the employees. I really do. But it is going to cost a little more. My single biggest suggestion in all of this is that we try to implement some kind of a wellness program also to try to help the employees take better care of themselves. And I'm going to say that real reluctantly because I know everybody's trying to do that, but maybe an education process to try to help people be in better health. And, some kind of a plan that maybe we don't have to go to the doctor as much. And I know this ranges all the way from people in our group that probably very seldom need to go to the doctor to the people that have to go a lot more often. some of it can't be helped, but I think some of it can with the right education. And so some type of a wellness program, if we could implement that, I think would be money well spent if we did that in addition to this.
Charlie, would that include vaccines for flu, for example?
Beg your pardon?
Would that include vaccines for a flu, for example? Right now, the plan does not pay for
Actually,
vaccines.
it
Yeah.
will be included under the
The new one is?
immunization at 100%.
I take that back.
Okay.
Pneumonia and flu
I
shots.
just said
Yeah.
flu shot.
And it's based on age, it would be under. the
Preventive.
Preventive
That's good
wellness,
news, good.
which the plan will
You
use
answered
its
the question.
grandfather status and would have to
Yep.
cover that under the.
You answered the question.
Yep. But anything that we can do to try to reduce the doctor visits.
Yep.
And also, that means that keeping our employees healthier. So any kind of education we could do in a wellness sense, I think, you know, even if we literally hired somebody and spent $50,000 a year to go around and educate everybody as to what they can do, maybe on a personal basis, you know, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's, you know, taking some medication to lower your cholesterol, or some of our people may not have even had their cholesterol checked in a while. Maybe even an annual physical or something to that effect, so people would know where they stand before they have the big heart attack.
Is there an annual physical included?
There is.
Yeah, and they do a blood
It's
test.
free. And
Yeah.
we have actually, a couple years ago, we tried to
Incentivized that, and
with
we
gift
had-
cards.
We had, huge participation as long as you incentivize
Uh-huh.
for employees to go for freebies. Then they'll take the freebie of the
Right.
$300 that is allotted, paid at 100%. But if you don't incentivize it, they don't go.
Okay, well, maybe that would be an idea, do a raffle if you go, and whoever wins the raffle gets a $500 bonus. I don't know, whatever. So, just
Charlie, we
one
kinda-
$500.
Yeah, we talked about some different things as far as a premium. If you smoke, you're gonna pay more.
Right.
Couple other things we discussed, even the gym memberships in here, and we discussed some other stuff, and it seems like this is such a big task because we're changing so much that it just, I mean, the committee kinda got bogged down a little bit trying to figure out what was fair to the city, but also fair to the employee.
Yeah.
Right.
So that may be the next step to this, and we talked about maybe meeting earlier, if, you know, so we can kinda look over this stuff and bounce some of those ideas off, or, you know, if you're not healthy for the next year, maybe the year after we'll get, you know, everybody get healthy. But,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of that kind of discussion, different discussions within the committee itself, and
Maybe
I
we
mean, it's a
could
good
even-
idea to do that.
Yeah, maybe we could even have a committee to try to establish some type of a wellness program. Because, I mean, the bottom line is, as long as we continue going to the doctor a lot and being, excuse me, but I guess sick a lot or whatever, then our premiums are gonna keep going up. But if we can try to reduce that and get a little healthier, even a little healthier, I think would make a big difference in the cost.
I don't see why that couldn't be part of our insurance committee,
Right.
discussing that
Exactly.
particular topic.
Yeah, okay.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, good night, go ahead.
Go ahead, okay. Well, this is ugly either way you look at it, here in the health. It's just no shining light here for anyone. And I think, tonight we have to make pretty much that decision, so it's not like we can kick this down the road any. So we have to say it, what we think tonight. For me, I don't think we can capture all of it in one lump sum first time, so I would go for option 2, which is 50%. So we kind of, the city takes 50% more, and the employee takes 50% more, and usually that's, in a bad situation, is seen as fair. We're sharing it. We're sharing the cost of the increase. And I don't know what we can do. Charlie, you brought up the wellness thing. I don't know how many people will participate. If you had a gym membership, and you might go the first 2 times, 3 times, and then you get busy and you don't go anymore. So, but I think education under that prevention, I think might be where it is, educational information. But tonight, deciding what we've got to do, it's not pretty. So for me, option 2, plus what the committee had come up with, it studied a lot longer than we've had time to look at it, so that weren't on the committee. So that would be where I'm at, option 2.
I'm in agreement with that as well, to ease into this a little bit. So option 2 would be my choice, along with 1 through 6.
Yes.
Hearing two people in support of option 2, it's easy for me to continue on here because I'm certainly a proponent of option 2 because we discussed it in committee, in the insurance committee. And I think it's noteworthy to understand that we all, let's say, share in some degree of negligence by not looking at this plan as time went on. To let a plan go on for 11 years and not look at it is not a good situation. So
Yeah.
we in committee have already agreed to look at the plan every single year from here on out, so that we don't find ourselves in a position where we have $1.2 million sitting in the red and having to try to balance it out somehow. And the worst thing, in my opinion, is to try to balance a budget on the backs of our employees. They're not the highest paid to begin with. We're still working on a pay plan. So option 2 is the best we could do at this particular point. However, under the committee recommendations, and I know it's a little unusual for me to do this, but I actually sat down and crunched these numbers. And the only thing I would ask council to take a second look at is instead of the retirees paying the entire boatload by themselves, let's give them 1 more year to adjust to this as well, and give them the same opportunity we have with the employees. So don't hit the retirees so hard this year. Put them in the same category with the employees, that they'll pay the increases just like the employees. I mean, they work for us for years and years, sometimes 25 and 30 years. Give them that same opportunity, and then when we look at it next year, if we have to take that into consideration, we can, just like the employees. So I would like to change that particular option to have the retirees be offered the same base plan that's the one with the $2,500 deductible as the city employees.
It's just
Option
a
2.
clarification, is that with option 2 for them
Option
paying
2.
50% of it?
And I could make that a motion if you like.
I see, okay.
And so your recommendation,
Is option 2,
Reducing the
and
rate by 50%.
so the retiree would pay $812.90 for employee only.
Correct.
Would pay $1,092.63.
hang on, let me catch up and I'll let you know. Where are we?
Middle of the page, right in the center.
Yep, go.
$1,092.63 for employee
Yes.
plus child, $1,142.63 for employee plus spouse, and $1,337.78 for employee family.
Correct.
Where do you get those numbers from?
Here, Joe.
Same as the employee.
They're the same as the employee rates.
Same as
It's
the
the
city
same.
employee, Mayor.
It's
They
the
do plan
employee
rate
plus
in the
city
middle.
contribution rate.
Right here.
I got it squared. You got it. To try to recoup on the, 14 employees, I think, that are in the plan altogether, they're making a whole lot less money than our own employees, obviously. Some are making, $30,000 a year instead of 60 or whatever. I think that's the right approach, at least at this point in time. And then we can move on from there next year.
Yeah.
So everybody in the same basket, so to
Yeah,
speak, option 2.
And that would be the same for the premium plan. They would be allowed to participate in the premium plan, same.
Well, I would like them
Idea.
to be able to participate, in other words, choose the
Yep.
premium or the base plan. I would like them to have that option too. I mean, if they wanna pay a little more to be in the premium plan, that's their choice. If they wanna stay in the basic plan with the $2,500 deductible, that's their choice as well. But with the same rate as the current city employees.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is one of the times when it's not fun to be a councilman because you have to make these kind of decisions. But I want to say this, I know we have a lot of employees out there, and there's a lot said here, and we talked about going over this with each employee individually so they can understand it better. I know when y'all sat down with me and explained it on an individual basis, I understood the thing a lot more. Like the Surgery Plus, you know, you think, oh no, we're gonna have a bunch of bad doctors, but the Surgery Plus is quality doctors. They're quality. They're not just Joe Blows. They're contracted, and the way they do this is they contract with a bunch of people, so they have a lot of potential customers, so they can be more reasonable. So I, you know, I know nobody wants to pay more money, but at this time, you know, like the last 2 years, we've thrown $1.2 million at this thing. So it's a good plan. The insurance plan for the city is a good plan. You won't go outside and buy this. So as bad as we hate to do this, we have to do something. And I agree, the 50%. And I don't have a problem with the retirees.
Well, Tom, can I address just Tom's comment and how we kind of arrived at this and then backed off, and I gotta give Scott a lot of credit for kind of pushing it to the 50% level for the staffing. But and just trying to keep it equitable between employees, city, retirees, that the employees are paying 50% of the increase, the retirees are not now. They're paying a lot less of the increase to the cost, if you understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
Well, we're asking, under the plan increase, we're asking the employees to pick up 50% of the increase of the cost, not 100% of the increase.
Right.
Okay, for the retirees, now you're asking them to pick up much less. It's not an equitable situation from that standpoint.
Why are, okay.
So the employees are not picking up the full, they're not bearing the full cost.
Correct.
There's a large subsidy there as well.
Correct.
And so the retirees will be receiving that same subsidy as the employee. Does that make sense?
Okay, good. But then under this, the cost of the plan to the
You gotta come down here.
well, no, what I'm saying, but you're taking 50%, if you take the first,
50% of option one, which was not the cost of the plan. It was just a number that was put out there that was thought to be fair at the time. And so option two is a 50% reduction of that option one increase.
right, but in this situation, then, the employee at Tom's rate is not 50% of that option one.
Yes, it would be.
They're gonna pay the same
They're not
as the
paying
employee
same-
and city contribution.
They're not paying 50% of option two, they're paying the exact same thing that the employee would be under the base plan in option one. Correct? Did I just say that right?
Yeah. But I think what the mayor's saying, though, is the retiree, his cost is greater than the employee.
That's correct.
So instead of
Currently.
it being 812, it's 1302. He's not paying 50% of the 1302. He's paying the 50% of the employee, which is the 812.
Well, currently the retiree plus one is paying the $1,072.36.
This essentially would mirror what our current plan provides for. And the employee pays that premium. The employee and city premium, if you will. So the retiree would pay $812.90 on their own.
Which
for
is
the
currently
plan,
what they are paying,
which is what they're
$812.90
currently
right now.
paying.
Correct.
As a
Unless-
retiree.
I'm not saying just
Unless they're on
Not-
the optional plan, which
Correct.
goes away.
correct.
So let's take the optional plan out. Currently, under the current plan, the employee pays $812.90. They would continue to pay the $812.90
Correct.
here.
Right.
An employee plus child, or children would pay 1092.63, the more applicable probably is employee plus spouse, would pay 1142.63.
Correct. And they're currently paying 1,072.
I'm just, I'll go over the math with you later, but this is
Okay.
not
Still capturing
quite
some
making
of the downside and,
the increase on.
and not hard, hitting them too hard, awfully hard then.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of things, a little bit of pontification, I guess, is part of it. Of course, retirees, for one thing, they make less than if they were actually fully employed, unless they get a job somewhere else or something. But
I need some help.
there you go. Sign up over here. But the point is that this increase could be 40%, 30% of what annually of what some retirees may get. You know, that's a big chunk of their salary, our big impact. Secondly, this brings to light what we really started working on in the council. This city's got to grow or die.
Yep.
One of the two. Now you say, okay, let's increase the ad valorem tax. All right. Well, that doesn't help if people want to move into the city, that our ad valorem goes up. If you look at the county, they were very close to cap, and they still are very close to the cap where they can't go anymore. And that doesn't leave them a lot of flexibility. So we here have started, and of course you tonight will be part of the annexation of, we did pick the low-hanging fruit, of course, but the part of the annexation plan, which we will continue to help us grow and to bring more revenue into the city. Once we do that, and anything else that we can come up with that grows the city, hopefully residents moving in, which as we will probably see pretty soon, the ad valorem that they'll be paying when we annex them in, they'll be interested in talking to us about, I'm sure. But it's key. You can see where we're headed. We're using fund balance to balance our budget. That means our savings. And the city's no different from your personal savings. If you make it every end of the month and have to take out of your savings, you're going to run out of savings at some point. So I guess my pontification, if you appreciate you giving me that time, is that we've got to grow, and we've got to, any of the employees that have ideas of how we could save money, we need to hear it, or how we can make more money, we need to hear it from the employees, because you're on the ground. We're trying to figure it out still. But that's one thing I wanted to say. We got to grow or die. That's just the way it looks to me on this. And I hope I didn't ruffle somebody's feathers around.
Sounded like the perfect piece of pontification, if you ask me.
So I'll shut up then. I'll have my head.
And that's a big piece of us moving forward here in order to make these ends meet and still treat our employees as they are well deserved to be treated. So, hearing all that, if you don't mind being the committee member, I'd like to make that motion that we go with option 2 as presented and include retirees with the same, how do you want to say, the same options that a city employee would have. What's that?
The same rate
Oh,
as the employee plus city
No, I'm talking
contribution.
Yeah. And the other and the other options with the amendment that I had just mentioned for option number 6.
I'll second
the
that.
Retiree plan. Got a second? Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No discussion.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Does anyone from the audience wanna talk to us about this? Come on up and tell us who you are.
George Bryant with City of Sebring Water. This is gonna be unpleasant in so many different levels. We already are struggling to keep a workforce to do the construction that we're under right now. We're a construction company now, as well as a maintenance worker 3 operation. We've got stuff falling apart all over town. Can't keep up. we can't get qualified people here to work with us. Nobody puts in to come here to work, because our job is very unpleasant. The water department's job is unpleasant, the sewer department's job is very unpleasant. We need to make this a place where people want to work. You know what I'm saying? We can't just keep making it less, because nobody's coming on board now. If we keep taking away from the initial package, where are we at then? I mean, if they don't wanna come down, why would anybody wanna come when they can make it less, if it ain't enough now, you know? And we are having a hard time. There's like 2 guys on the construction crew, plus 1 guy. That's me, and I'm almost 60. A 63-year-old, and then whoever we can get to help us. That is our construction crew. We are in a bind. This is not a pleasant place to work. It's hard. We ain't gonna go to no wellness program after laying pipe all day. Ain't nobody gonna do that. I ain't going to no gym, I'm going home. I'm gonna drink some beer, I'm gonna be ready for work the next day.
That's sort of wellness, by the way.
It's just, this is a no-win situation. I understand belts have to be tightened. I do get that. And I'm all for that. But we have got to think about the future. My other guy on the construction crew, he's retiring in 3 years. I hope to take his job as foreman. I'm gonna be a foreman of 1. There's nobody else on the construction crew. We keep doing construction. We laid 3 miles of pipe through an orange grove that we can't even treat the water. We don't have enough wells to treat that water, because our wells are already at a strained level right now with the DEP. That water's sitting in that pipe stagnating right now. We can't flush it, because we can't lose that much treated water to keep that line in service. When we tie all that in, if we ain't got somewhere to dump that water, because there's nobody on there. Claridge Road is our only customers we have. We don't have any other customers. In the future, we may have, but right now that water is stagnating in that line. And we tie it in, circle it in. We don't have nowhere to dump that water. We're treating water and then dumping it right back on the ground, 3 miles of pipe. And that was a ton.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I mention something to you here? I appreciate everything you're saying, and I know the council does as well. But as far as the insurance program is concerned, you have to understand too, we're not the Lone Ranger in this whole scenario.
I understand
The
that.
county, the school board, we've checked with numerous different cities and that. We're all in the same soup, and it's not the best soup going. But as it is right now, we did want to meet the employees halfway, because the city just can't continue to lose the money that we're losing. So if you were to apply for the county right now to make this real direct, you're not gonna find a whole lot better insurance program over there than you have right here that we're proposing right now.
Yes, Chief
Just so you
Chapman,
know.
I understand that. It's got to be more than just, if you don't like it, go somewhere else.
No,
It's
nobody's
got to
saying
be
that.
more than that.
No, nobody would ever say that. What I'm saying is, if you compare our insurance program,
When the counties did their thing, 30-some people jumped ship over there. We can't afford to lose.
I agree with that.
In
but-
any department, I can't afford to lose 1 guy.
Right, but it's not gonna be because of insurance, because it's so close.
Is it?
County?
I don't know.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I don't
This
know if it
committee
is or
and this
not.
council has already checked into that. Between the school board and this county, Highlands County, we're all in the same soup. So you're not gonna find a much better deal anywhere else.
Okay, let's figure out a way to make this more appealing.
That's what we're doing.
Whether we gotta pay for insurance or not, let's try to figure out a way to make the city a more appealing place to work.
Well, George, I want to say something. If we can save money this way, like we told you, we've thrown $1.2 million at this last 2 years, and she's saying right now we're 375 in the hole. if we can turn this thing around eventually, I would think that as a city and the council, we could look at higher raises. But right now, it's hard to give the employees raises when you're already in the hole.
Well, if you give.
You know, and this insurance plan, I own a business, I'm 71 years old, I dig ditches, I lay pipe, and I have health insurance because I'm here, but my employees have nothing.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, Mr. Carlisle.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
there's
I
way-
understand what you're saying.
One of you guys asked if there's a way we could save money.
Yeah.
We could stop throwing it away on stuff that's not helping.
That's what, I mean, you bring up a good point. And I don't know how much, Scott, that we've talked to employees that are, I don't want to say in the trenches, so to speak, but actually, ideas that you have. I've done this before, and it's been very helpful. I was city manager during Hurricane Andrew, took over the city for during that period, and it was I didn't know if we were going to make payroll, you know, for the city when it started. So what we did is you got to talk to the employees, see what's going on in terms of all the employees, managers, everybody, to see where if we make decisions that might not be cost effective, we need to know that. And there may be some other reasons why that happened, I don't know. But we've got to find out. I think employees are good. And of course, I'm from the police side of the house, and everywhere they have a hard time getting police officers. And even the county, who pays more than us, lose them to other counties who are paying more. And they're population center counties, you know, where you have a lot of people. And that brings other problems with it. But my point being is that I think we need you employees to think about, if we're doing stuff we shouldn't be doing, or you think it's stupid, let us look at it and see if we agree. There may be a reason we're doing it, it may not be, but we need to hear from you. If we're not taking advantage of revenue sources, I broke them up to expense and revenue. You guys get back to me with your suggestions, and it worked. And if you think of things we should be doing to make revenue, let us know. I think that we should look at it, and Scott, I'll hang around and listen to them with you. Yeah, no, I won't put it all on you. I know you appreciate that, Scott. But anyway, I handed him up. But,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, George.
that's what I feel.
Rick Little. Not only am I a city employee, but I've lived inside the city limits for 27 years. There's only a couple of you up here that have lived here longer than I have. You and you. I don't know about Mr. Stewart.
I got 30
In the city limits or in
Yes, sir.
Sebring?
in the city limits.
Full time?
Full time.
Okay.
34.
I can tell you this.
Not me.
When I got my tax bill, proposed tax bill, when I bought my house in 1993, it was worth $35,000. It's worth over 120 now. I pay less in taxes now than I did in 1993. Physical money. The ones of you that own a business, Mr. Stewart, I know that lumber costs have gone up 50%. That I'm sure gets passed on to your customers. We have, over time, we have done things as a city that have cut those revenues. And the three of you that are retired public safety officers or public safety officials know you went into it not for the money, you went into it for the benefits. So when we didn't get raises over years, when the county was given 7-8% raises and we got a quarter one year, we got 3%, we kept chugging along because we figured we're doing by right. Those things have changed. The city council as a whole over the years needs to take responsibility. If you go back as far as some of you have lived here long enough, the Sebring Utilities Commission suck. When I bought, my realtor says, please don't move into the city. I purposely moved into the city because I wanted the best police, fire, garbage, and services. People need to pay for those services. I started working part-time, and when I came here to live, we didn't have 27. We've grown annexation, and our departments didn't grow to the size of what we were doing. We've made do. The city council over the years, look at the properties we've taken, prime properties we've taken off the tax rolls in the last 2 years. That's tax revenue we've taken off the books, that now we're doing things. And then tonight you're proposing spending $2 million on a building that's been sitting empty for how many years? If the ad valorem had allowed to change the way it was going to, that would have almost made your difference up in the insurance this year alone. That was $300,000. We lost $2.5 million on Harder Hall. You guys agreed to an agreement that the CRA, and you had to end up spending $500,000 extra dollars on a drainage problem down on West Center. These are things that happen. But as business owners, you pass that cost on to your. These are the cost of doing business. You're not making money off the employees. The city, I live in the city, my tax bill would have gone up $50. There's no reason that 27 years later I pay less in taxes than I did 27 years ago. We were at over 8.5 mils back in 1993. It's not going to make or break. And I understand you don't want to be maxed out, but some of this is a little ridiculous that we do, and we give no raises or we give small raises. The employees spend their time years, they move their families here, they're part of the community. As a city council, and it's not just you guys, it's over the years, I've watched fiscal decisions being made that just, it's like, it's a joke. The suck was the worst thing that ever happened. When I moved here, I agreed to pay that extra, to pay off that stupid power plant that never got used. I paid it gladly every month because I wanted to live inside the city. I'm proud to live in the city.
Me too.
And that's why Chief Devin, when he asked me when I left the school system, he goes, why do you want to come to work full time for the city? You got FRS time. I said, because I want to work for the city where I live. People work here because they like it. They live here. Right now, I would encourage people to move into the city because we do things like this. And I agree, we should be sharing the costs, but overall, there's some things that you as a group, whether it's you guys this time or after the next election, another group, need to be good stewards of the money. You got people on here with experience. Why are we not looking at plans that, oops, now the CRA, now we're spending $500,000 on down there? Or you got sidewalks, technically they're ADA compliant, but I'm not watching a wheelchair do this. We buy the women's club. It's not ADA compliant. What are we doing with it? It comes off the tax rolls. We bought the bank, it come off the tax rolls. We bought 2 more properties downtown, come off the tax rolls. No offense to Mr. Lawrence, but we bought his property, it comes off the tax rolls.
I thought he donated that.
But what I'm saying is, and then you don't let the ad valorem go. I'm sure you've passed your cost on to labor costs. I'm sure at the bank, Mayor, that you guys aren't paying the same fees. I know I'm not paying the same fees at my bank that I did in 1993. The cost of business goes up. The city residents need to pay for their services. And we as employees are the services they get. And they're getting a good deal. Mr. Hoffman looked at me during union negotiations and said, what are you going to do if you annex all that? I said, we'll do what we've always done with the police department. We're professional. We'll make it work. But we're stressed. Just like the public works guys, just like the fire department. They're stressed. It's not a good time right now. So it's going to come a time where insurance is one thing. But yeah, sheriff's office, everybody talks about their plans. They raised theirs, but they also got a 3% raise the last 2 years, every year. It's going to come a time you got to pay for services, and that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Well said. Well said, and I want you here when we have the annexation discussions, because that's the kind of information we need for people who don't want to pay higher ad valorem. And that, you know, that.
Don't drop it when you annex. That's what's happened before. In the 90s when we annexed, we dropped the ad valorem. Instead of getting an influx of money, we dropped it down.
Well, we stayed the same.
This year, I'm talking.
In the future?
The
Yeah.
fire system, this is the first year that didn't raise the fire system, dropped the taxes. That extra $12 ain't gonna make or break me. I'm
Yeah.
a city resident, I'll gladly pay. And I'm in drop, I'm leaving. Does not pertain to me, but as long as I own property in this city, I want one of these guys to show up to my house. I want the fire department bill to show up to my house in a timely manner.
Understand.
I want my garbage picked up. Right now, we have the best garbage in the county. People in the county would love to have our garbage picked up.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
used to be the other way around.
That's gonna go up, but, the point being is that, that's a sell point for moving into the city. Those are the things that, you know, we need to sell, because why would somebody wanna move into the city? You know, that kind of thing. I asked that question, I heard crickets, you know?
And your services are gonna go down because, to be honest, we're gonna start losing people at the fire department, the police department.
Well, hopefully we can man people if we get enough money, we can bring people in to man it.
But you can go to Hardy County right now, a guy fresh out of the
Yeah.
county making
I
$42,000
know.
a year and full insurance. I'm
I
not
know.
saying we get to that point. Okeechobee. I'm talking about people that touch our county are making, and I go only from the law enforcement side of it, but other public works and this and that. This insurance rate that we're doing on them, some of them make $11 an hour.
I know.
But here's the thing is, from the increase, when I sit in the insurance meeting, I'm talking about raising $81,000. And no offense to the 6 of you up there receiving it, but if every one of you gave up the insurance, there's $60,000 a year right there.
Well, I don't take the insurance.
But what I'm saying is it's budgeted.
I mean, I don't know who does,
but Mr. Ivy, you may
Yeah.
not be on the council forever.
Well,
The next
that's
guy
true.
that takes your seat may.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at, as for a part-time job, you're getting full-time benefits. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
and people say, somebody made the comment, well, you should work till you're 65. And the 3 of you that have done this, and you did it for a little bit, you don't want somebody pushing a patrol car at 65 years old. You don't want somebody going into a burning house at 65 years old, do you?
No.
There's a law of diminishing returns. You don't want to be digging ditches at 65 years old. And when we go back to the wellness, there's an employee that did the wellness, and a week later had a massive heart attack. So how did that work out? It's not going to find those things out that you think it will. I go to the doctor twice a year for meds and to get my blood work done. She'll tell you I'm the healthiest fat guy you'll ever meet. They've put me on a treadmill and could not get my heart rate up enough to register. I spent 30 minutes on it. The wellness stuff is not going to find what you think it's going to find. It'll find blood work and this and that, but when you have a massive heart attack after going to a wellness visit, where they're supposed to do this and this, they don't do that stuff. They were supposed to do EKGs, Mayor. They didn't do that. They don't do what they say they're going to do. And all I'm saying is annexation is not going to be the silver bullet because we've been told that money's already accounted for.
Well,
you don't collect ad valorem for a year.
Yeah.
So you got a year to go, and then if history repeats itself like they did in the 90s, they reduced the millage rate so everybody's paid because they didn't want to upset the people coming into the council.
Well, I don't know that. Yeah, well, that's true. They'll come in.
No, I'm talking about members of the council because there were people that ran against annexation. We had 2 members that sat on the city council because they did not want to be annexed.
Let me put it this way from my perspective.
That's the truth.
I got till April a year from now. If I don't get reelected, or even if I run again, I don't care. Okay? I don't care. What I care about is trying to do the best for the city while I'm here. And I think this city needs to grow, and I don't think you're saying we don't.
No.
But I think that we have to look at how we operate. I agree with that. We have to look at how we operate. The women's club you bring up, that was an example. That's property next to our well system. Okay?
Okay. But then we own the lot next to it. We own 2 front, not counting the art league.
You go
we
there
own
on the
3
weekends.
lots.
You go by there on the weekends, I'm sure you do. And they're filled with boats and trailers. It's
And
in
I
use.
don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is we own 3 pieces of property on the lake that is prime real estate. We've taken 3 or 4 more pieces of property off. You can't, again,
Well, I
reduce
hear what
millage
you're
and then
saying
take.
I hear
That'd
what
be
you're
like saying,
saying.
okay, we're going to pay you $15 an hour, but we're going to cut your hours down to 20.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The balance sheet doesn't work out. You can't provide services to more people for less money, and that's what we've done over years. And what I'm saying is, on the same time, you're asking the employees to make up the difference of this, so we can. And I don't disagree.
Yeah.
When I was married and when they did FRS and started paying 3%, I did the research. We were the only state in the nation that did not contribute. So I told her basically just be quiet and pay your 3%. But when on the same meeting you're doing this, you're looking at spending $2 million on a building that's been sitting empty for what, almost 30 years? Not 30 years, but 20 years.
Okay.
Up to $2 million.
That's what we have.
And you're saying, oh, last year it was 600,000. It's 375 this year. It may go down. I'm surprised it's not more because when people heard the rumors, and this seemed to have, where there's smoke, there's fire. This seemed to have been done in secret because the thing is, yeah, it might be noticed over here, but if you're on night shift, you can't come over here and see the notice. Why aren't the employees told via email when meetings are? So that this stuff didn't all seem to pop up on people in the last month.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a suggestion.
We
I mean,
used
we
to
can
do
that.
when they had safety committee meetings, there was an email. We're having a safety committee meeting. This was the end result of it. This seems to have been done in secret, which it's not. It's a public meeting. But we have a meeting on Tuesday that I attend, and then said it was noticed. How do you notice a meeting that's on Thursday? Usually a notice requires 7 days notice. How do you have a meeting on Tuesday and then one on Thursday?
Well,
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying, coming from
And
this?
you're bringing up a point, and this is what I mean from the employees, that we need to look at and hear, I don't wanna say grievances, but suggestions.
It's not a grievance, but
Yeah,
when you,
suggestions.
when you look at it from the outside, and you're telling the employees, you're gonna start paying, but like I said, we're gonna propose spending $2 million so we can have nicer offices for City Hall. Whether it is or not, that's the perception out there.
Yeah.
We spent $500,000 on fixing a drainage problem that should have been the CRE's problem, that we had to take money out. That breaks you even right there on the insurance. There's things that have been done. The women's club, $180-some thousand for the women's club, and we can't use it. Then tear down, make a parking lot out of it. But then you're saying to the, well, we were short on the insurance. You're short on other things. You can't just pay attention to the insurance once a year. You got to pay attention to everything you guys spend. I'm a city resident, and I'm a taxpayer, and I'm telling you, my taxes, honestly, for the services I'm provided in this city, are too low. They are.
I agree.
Look, Mr. Carla, it's God's honest truth. In 1993, I was paying $300 to $400 a year, and I'm paying $190 a year to the city for the city services I get. That's ridiculous.
I agree.
It's not, and I chose to move in the city. When people move in the city or they buy in the city, let them. We should have the best police force. We should have the best fire department, the best public works, the best water department. People should want to move in here, not because the taxes are rural or low, because we provide the best services to people. We shouldn't have to be like working scarce shifts. It took the fire department years to get back up to staff. Like he said, everybody's having trouble hiring. There's only one thing that'll fix that. Nobody wants to hear that. You got to pay for services. I'm sure your employees aren't making the same as they were 10 years ago. Some places do, because if they do, they're moving on. I'm sure you as a lawyer aren't making the same rate that your dad did when he started out. I'm sure the rate that you charge the city for being the city attorney is not the same as when your dad started the contract.
No, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. We pay for services. Your employees, what we provide to the citizens, that's the service they need to pay for. It's not something that's free or entitled to. If they're retired from up north, it wasn't, so what? They put their kids through school. You move in here, you should have the best schools around here in the county. I hear too many times, I put my kids through school. Well, if the kids don't get a good education, they're the ones that are gonna break into your house, and I'm gonna have to come to your house and arrest them for breaking into your house. It's about time people start paying their fair share. And that includes the citizens here. You can't say, I want more services. If you annex the whole corridor, we'll make do. But the quality of services are gonna go down. If we can't fill our spots now, what makes you think we're gonna fill them when you take the whole corridor in? And I agree, we need to grow, but you can't reduce the millage to make up and balance. You've gotta, if you grow, you gotta make money with it. We grew a lot in the 90s. When I started here, the highway wasn't even in the city. The Ford dealership, none of that was in the city. We took all that in. Our police department, maybe a couple officers bigger overall, but not to the quality of the size that we've grown and the geographical area we've taken, or the amount that the water department or sewer department maintains. We need to grow, and the citizens need to pay for that service. It's not free, and that's all I'm getting at. These people get frustrated, and I'm only speaking for myself, but a lot of them I've talked to, it's just because it all happened at one time. And I appreciate you only doing the 50% cost, if that's where you're going. But you also, as a group, need to look at what you're spending other things, and not just, oh, it's this and this. Like I said, I hate to keep going back to the drainage thing, but there's some very intelligent people up here. You looked at the plan, and nobody saw, oh, we need to take care of this. No, we wait till it's done, and then go, now we gotta spend $500,000 to fix the problem. To be perfectly honest, no offense, but that's asinine, that you go after the facts to fix stuff. The sidewalk looks stupid down there. And I said, you said the exact same thing in your city council meeting, and a few more choice words about it. I mean, who in their right mind thinks anybody in a wheelchair is gonna
Serpentine.
Yeah,
right.
These
I
are
know.
things that we need to be, as a group, you need to look fiscally when you spend money, and not just go, well, the insurance costs have gone up.
Hey, Rick, I've known you for a long time. I think you made your point, no lie. I really do. You made your point.
Well, he brought me back up.
Well, my comments brought him back up. I appreciate
Thanks.
those comments. You wanna hear that from people that work for
Absolutely.
you.
I would like to make a couple comments in regards to the revenues, though, and we have, number one, the last few years, since I've been on council, we've given the employees raises every single year. The last 2 years, 2.5%, assuming that you got the raise that you earned. And I think the year before that was 3%. So we've been trying to do this in a steady thing every year, ever since I've been on council. We've also raised our garbage rates. We've raised our water rates in the last few years. And we are trying to raise those rates because there is an inflationary thing. And if we don't continue with the revenue coming in and increase it when the cost of living goes up, we can't afford to pay the employees what they deserve. And I am a big proponent on paying employees what
don't
they.
raise taxes. Sometimes that's what pays for the services, our ad valorem taxes.
And since I've been on council, we have raised the ad valorem taxes. And we've also raised the fire assessment taxes in addition to that.
But in most cases, you dropped the millage to pay for it. This was the first year you didn't pay. You
We
let it
have,
stand
since
alone.
I have been on council the last 4 years, we have not dropped the millage to pay for the fire assessment taxes.
But overall, that's what usually happens.
It used to happen before, I agree, I don't agree with that because.
We are so far behind the curve because of that, of things that have happened.
I know, and we're trying to.
It's not all you guys' fault. I'm saying over time.
We are trying to catch up, we really are, and we are trying to charge.
Like I said, we appreciate you're only doing the 50%, but don't do it all on the backs of the employees who are doing the services for a lot less money. When you say 2.5%, 3%, when the sheriff's office in the county does 3% a year on top of their step plans when they have step plans, and they raise it, so they offset it. Because if you're on a step plan like we are, and you're at the top, there are no more raises. You're done. So that's not necessarily true for all the employees.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Greg Carr. I work for Chief Porter at the City Seaton Fire Department, and I'm going on my second year there. And one of the main reasons that I came to the department was to have the benefits. This is all kind of new to me, and this is the first time I've seen this charts, and I just kind of wanted to paint a picture a little bit, and I'll tell you, I gross about $2,800 a month, and I'll say that because you can hire for the job. And so insurance right now, let's call it $3,000. Insurance right now at about $500 for my wife and my 2 kids is a good portion of my paycheck. And to have, which I'm not, if this has got to be the option, this is kind of news to me. I just learned about it in October that this insurance rate goes up. And Ms. Robinson, if I misheard you, you said that the insurance company hasn't seen an increase in the past 9 years?
The city premiums have not increased in the last 9 years.
From the insurance company or just from?
From the city.
From the city.
The city has maintained we had several bad years, and that's where we were able to maintain, and now we've had some bad years, and we're having to do something about it.
Okay.
But the employees have not had a rate increase since 2009.
And like I said, March will be my second year. I appreciate you explaining that to me. So, currently I'm paying close to probably 30-40% of my paycheck goes to insurance. And we're young and healthy, and I got teenage boys, and my wife and I are still young. I thank the Lord for that. But if the board or the council decides to opt to option number 1 by 50%, it'll ding my paycheck, an extra probably about $125 a month. And which leads me to believe that through the council's conversation, that this is just kind of the first step. And if the board or the council was to decide to go to the recommendation, if you look at the employee portion a month, it's 13. The bottom right column. If let's say this happens next year, the conversation tend to sound like we're gonna ease our way into it. So my family portion of the employee, I'm sorry.
Yep,
Okay. My family portion of the employee portion would be $13.17, and I gross right now about $1,400 every 2 weeks, 14 and change. I'm not exactly sure the number. That would be working half my paycheck or half the month to pay for my insurance coverage. Which if that's the and I'm not eligible yet for a raise. Currently I was self-employed here in Highlands County for about 15 years, and coming in, and this is my desire to be here, and I like working here. I love doing the job at the department. I love the flexibility. I like the option to have the retirements and the insurance. Along with that,
Hey, Greg, just to, I think to correct, what you're gonna pay for the family is only $574 a month, not the total 13.
yes, sir, but it made it sound like the council was speaking that this is an introduction to what's coming.
Well, we're not charging the employee for the 812. That's the employer paid contribution.
Are you
Yes, sir.
thinking we're looking at doing the recommendation from Anchor eventually?
No, ma'am, I understand what the conversation was eventually.
Yes.
And I had another point I wanted to address about that too, but it sounded like the topic of the conversation was, okay, let's not bring this on the employees, we'll ease into it. So if I'm looking down the road in next October, I could possibly be paying 50% of my income towards health insurance. Not only that, this is the first time I've seen these charts, but the premiums from current for the deductibles and the out-of-pocket limit double, sometimes even a little bit more than that. And I think that if the retiree has the option to hang on for another year and still pay at their current rate, I'm not sure that all the rest of the city employees still have or are aware of this, of what's going on in these meetings, and they're going to be pretty surprised when it comes and we have to go through individually, like we were talking about at the workshop, and sit down and hear it. I don't know how that's going to blow over. It'd be nice if I had another year to be prepared for it, versus I think we were talking the 28th through the early November, individually going through the plan. It's going to be a blow to some people. $100. My wife works. I work on my time off. I'm fortunate that I have some time, So, but I can imagine, like the gentleman said, some people make $11 an hour. I make $13.50. I haven't made that much since I was probably fresh out of high school, but I'm not complaining by all means. I just wanted to paint a picture to you guys so you kind of knew, as you mentioned, Mr. Ivy, what some of this impact might have on somebody. Even $100, $125 monthly increase for a family could be a lot. So I appreciate what you guys do, and I know y'all put a lot of time and effort and prayer and consideration into this, and it's tough. I could imagine being in a leadership role right now under these times. So I just, like I said, I just kind of let you know where I stand as an employee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Skylar. I'm with the sewer department, and I just kind of like Greg there. I wanted to paint a picture as well. I went back to college, completed college, ended up in the medical field. I left the air conditioning to work for the sewer department, and the main reason why was because of the insurance package. I just had received, I used to assist Dr. Newsom in eye surgery, and I had just received a substantial increase in pay, and it still wasn't able to match what the city offered, plain and simple. So I left the air conditioning, started working for the sewer department, and I love it. I understand the idea of a budget. I understand the idea of taking corrective action. If I understood correctly, this was something that has been occurring for a long time. I feel as an employee of the city that it's horribly unfair that it's automatically taken out now and so quickly without any type of communication to those of us who it strongly affects. I can't speak for anyone else behind me. According to the changes, it's still a fantastic plan. I have dealt with insurance before. I'm still happy to accept my employment, accept the plan. If it spirals out of control, I'll tell you right now, I won't be able to afford to work here. I'm a full-time single father. I raised my daughter all by myself. I won't be able to afford to work here if the overall corrective actions aren't taken with the effects of the consequences in mind. So, thank you.
Understanding what Mr. Carr had just said, and I greatly appreciate that. I want him and everyone else here to know that in committee, that the rest of the council members weren't perfectly too. The mayor was there, and Mrs. Haley, and everyone else here. We did say that if our experience in this coming budget year improves, we all agreed, and Mayor, please correct me if I'm mistaken, that we'd be willing to adjust the rates down. We're willing to go in either direction, but right now, that $1.2 million hole, we can't allow that to continue on, but we won't know until the experience through this current year is completed. Am I saying that right, Peg, Penny? Mayor, do you agree that we had all said that? We could reduce the rates. I know that's something you don't ever hear in government, but I'm not a politician. I was a policeman my whole life. So was Kurt, the fireman, and we all experienced exactly how you guys feel about this. So our commitment was that we will be more than happy to do that if our experience isn't that big chunk of money that we've been hemorrhaging. And like Kurt said, and here we go with the perfect pontification, but I don't mind raising taxes a little bit here and there too, because I think we have to stay ahead of the curve. And as far as annexation is concerned, whether we get reelected or not, it's full guns ahead as far as I'm concerned.
Amen.
Thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Kathy. I'm the administrative assistant over at Utilities. I hate speaking in public, you guys. So, one of the big blows for me and for Charlotte is booting our spouses from insurance. My husband has a wonderful job for one of the larger employers in Sebring, but their insurance is horrendous. It's expensive. And I purposely think that they try not to shop their rates because it's more money for corporate. Luckily, I don't have to have my stepson on my insurance right now, so I'm not taking a blow in that way. But there's single parents, Skylar, there's others. I feel like this is all at once, that we're not doing this slowly, gradually trying to make up for we have had some hard years. The last few years, a lot of people have had some major health issues. But it seems like it's all at once, just like wham. And right now, my husband's business is not doing well. You know, manufacturers were shut down for months, not making cars. You know, he does commercial fleet sales. He's the only commercial fleet salesperson. But when customers can't get trucks for 10 months, that's what they're looking at. That's hard. And we don't live outside our means by any stretch. You know, it's just him having to pay out probably $600 a month for health insurance for one of the larger employers, and their insurance is not great. Not great. And that was one of the things. I came here 5 years ago today. I left JCPenney's after 13 years to go to the front counter, making $9 an hour. I took a $4 pay cut to come to the city. But I brought home the same amount of pay because I got 40 hours instead of 35, and I got my health insurance. That's why I came here. Have normal hours for my family, much better work, environment, no more Christmases, no more Thanksgivings. Just a nice, and that's all part of the package of working here, is having those holidays. That's part of the benefit of having a little bit less pay. But this is going to be a big blow to most of us, and most of us don't make. I don't make $30,000 a year. Most of us probably don't make $30,000 a year. So to boot our spouses off of it, the increase, I get it. I'm all for it. If we have to pitch in to pay for our insurance, or different things, I get it. Just like when FRS, the school board, they had to pitch in, pay 3%. I agree with that. Individuals should be responsible for their own retirement. employees contribute, it shouldn't all be on the taxpayers. I get it, and I agree with that. But that, having lower hourly wages is offset by our health insurance. That's a big part of it. And, I mean, I love where I work. I have a great boss in Bobby and Kim. So, and that's gonna be a blow personally to me, and I think to a lot of the employees, and a lot of the employees aren't even here. And there were others that wanted to come but had obligations, family situations, they couldn't be here. So, on their behalf, they also, I have one that said he would be probably more broke depending on plan. The plan is not as bad as what I think a lot of us thought. That I will say. But to make our spouses not be eligible, if a retiree has a spouse that is eligible for is over 72, 75, and they are eligible, do they still get to be on the city's insurance plan? They do. But our spouses, if we're still current employees, don't get that same option? That doesn't seem fair. And I'm surprised that I'm so far been the only one to touch base on the spousal part of it, but that doesn't seem right for those of us who are still working.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, and staff, good evening. Carl Hoagland for the record, citizen and city employee. I want to express my appreciation to all of you, both the insurance committee and certainly staff and council, that we're taking the position that we're going to wade in the pool rather than jump into the deep end. And in line with that philosophy, I'd like to offer the idea that instead of making the employees contribute toward their own health care, we've experienced potentially a $225,000 reduction in the exposure this year. It was $600 2 years ago, $600 last year, and we're looking at $375 this year. If the changes we're looking at making to the plan, increased out-of-pocket, increased deductibles, increased co-pays, change in benefits from 100% coverage to shared coverage, if those improvements offer savings as well over the next year, would it be an opportunity to come back and revisit the potential changes and adding increased cost to employees if this doesn't work to the extent we think it's going to? My fear is that if we make these changes, we ask our employees to contribute, we increase the out-of-pocket expenses, we increase the deductibles, we're going to push them out the door, and though we might be able to recoup the insurance plan, we may never recoup the employees. If they go work for competitors, if they have similar benefits, if they have increased wages and they start new careers somewhere else, they're likely not going to come back. And that's my biggest fear, is the long-term sustainability of the department, the ability to keep quality employees who have dug in, who have done their jobs, who have been committed, who have been loyal, and risk pushing them out the door to competitors that are going to pay more, or at least the grass might look greener on the other side of the fence. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that everyone understands that this has not come lightly to administration, for the insurance committee, or council. We've had countless hours of research and meetings to discuss this. The plan is suffering, and I think that if you look at it, and we keep talking about the 50% cut, that cut is from option one. Option one nowhere near covers the cost of what health insurance is costing the city with the number of claims. So with what the recommendation is, I just want to point out that to cover the full cost for an employee and child, we would in reality need to charge $459 more a month. And the recommendation that's on the floor is to increase it $20.27 per month. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that the council is going above and beyond. They are taking a large stretch out there with subsidizing still on an employee child plan $440 per month. In addition to the $812 that the city is contributing to the employees plan. I think that the council has, it is hard. It's gonna affect everybody in this room, myself included, in many ways. It affects everyone on the insurance committee, and there's just some really tough decisions that had to be made, and that's just what we were trying to accomplish.
Yes, sir.
Do we know, I don't think we do, I think I've asked that in our meeting, I'm not sure if I remember correctly, to address that young lady's presentation. How many people do you think we have that have spouses that have access to other insurance?
So on your demographics page.
We have 47 spouses on the plan.
Yeah.
How many of those are eligible for coverage with
We don't know.
if they are employed? We don't know that information.
We assume maybe half.
It's just a statistic of, it's the data. We have 56 children on the plan, 47 spouses, and 155 employees. And we considered, what everyone makes, looking at groups of employees, if they make less than $30,000 a year, what if they received both the COLA and merit, it would be $755 if they made $30,000 exactly. A $40,000 employee would, their increase be $1,006. There's been a lot of hard decisions made to get to where we are today.
Thank you.
Can I make a comment on that? And I'm gonna revert back to the young lady who was up here from, I think it was the water department.
Yes.
There's a huge difference, obviously, between an ACA compliant medical insurance program from another employee or a paid ACA compliant medical insurance program. There are other employers out here that do pay for their employees' insurance, or at least a great portion of it. Rather than just cut that thing the way we had looked at it, maybe that we could take a second look and say, and I would have to paraphrase what the item would be. And by the way, that's 10G that's coming up. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. So that we would certify that the employer or organization does or does not offer an ACA compliant paid insurance program. So if they had a paid insurance program, then they can't stay on ours. But if they have to pay for it, $600 over there, and it's only about $402 to keep them on here, then they need to stay on here. I hope I made my point on that. I just don't think we should make it that cut and dried.
It's certainly easier to look at it from that perspective, because we did look at that and we were trying to establish criteria, if you will, in that realm. And it's a lot easier to say what you said, which is a paid ACA program, as opposed to if it only covered $300, or, it's hard to make up a number that gets you into a comfortable position.
And you couldn't use a word like comparable. I guess Mr. Swain will have you comparable paid plan. So in other words, if it's one is a premium of $500 and ours would be $400, would that be considered
Cost effective.
cost? Well,
How about that?
Well, you would have
this
to
is really
you'd have to
difficult.
really look at what does their plan offer, what is the deductible, what are the co-pays.
You go blind trying to compare all
Exactly,
this.
the out-of-pocket limits.
We don't involve.
And then if
You
they
could
pay
differentiate
it-
on paid or where the employee has to contribute.
Right.
That's a little easier to of a bright line.
Yeah, just that simple. Yeah.
I can tell you, speaking from experience, as Kathy stated, Alan Alstein's plans are very high costs. He has two types of plans for my spouse and children. For myself, my husband to cover us on his coverage. For the family, for the best plan, it's like $771 a week. My husband doesn't make $700 a week. So the lower plan is still higher with less benefits. However, I understand where the committee is going. Like it or not, I too, as Penny said, am affected. Business is business.
So your husband and your children are on your city plan?
Yes.
Because I
My
was gonna say, if
husband's
they're
used
not,
our
you need to check
plan
out.
one time in the last 6 years for stitches.
Sure, absolutely.
So, but
That's crazy.
you guys have a job to do.
We do, but we just keep hearing things that really need to be considered, you know. So, the motion on the floor has not, doesn't even touch what we've just heard.
And I don't think we have a lot of time to do something different, if I heard you correctly. Yeah.
Well, option three would be we do nothing.
Well, option 3 is just strike that from the plan. Strike that from the motion,
Yeah.
that portion from the motion,
The spousal waiver.
the spousal waiver. And take a harder look at it next year.
Yeah. Maybe brainstorm a little bit more and see how we can slice that up.
I didn't catch that. Would you reiterate that, please?
I was saying, the motion was made to, wherever that motion is now.
Approve 1
Take
through
out
6.
option two.
So
Just
you're
to
saying
do-
remove the
Option
spousal
change
waiver
to
from
6.
the motion.
And then you delete the spousal
Oh, the
waiver.
spousal waiver.
At this point in
Yeah.
time, I mean, at school board, it's done at the school board, it's done at other places. I think we looked at different plans and how it's competitive. And there's a lot of things that we talked about and we discussed what it's gonna, you were the perfect one on the committee telling us what was gonna happen. I think what we need to do as a total city is really to look at how we use our insurance. I think there is some abuse on the insurance because the insurance was a Cadillac plan. $500 deductible, you didn't pay anything? I mean, you can't find that. You talk about what L&J does. You talk about coming from Newsom. He didn't have insurance, or it cost you through the nose. That's what attracts it here. We're making some changes that are not, they're horrible because we're making changes, but they're not horrible in the industry. They're not horrible what everybody else says. What your insurance, you cover your employees, right?
No.
You don't have it. So,
My employees don't have it.
but and I also understand, we all understand, and that's what we struggle with, the pay. That's when we went to the Evergreen study and tried to get the stuff going again, where for several years there wasn't anything. So the council has taken this council has taken some leaps over the years to try to correct some issues. Like you said, going back, nothing was done. And the best way to do it is let's keep the taxes low. The people that are working for us love us, so they're gonna work for nothing. Well, that doesn't cut it, But this is, an advocate, we're trying to figure out how to do it. Some of the spouses we have use the plan. And some of the spouses that are out there, we don't know who, but some of the spouses are actually the ones that hurting our plan. That can get insurance someplace else. We're not talking about the ones that can't get insurance, but it's the ones that that have the insurance because of the L&Js. They've got to pay this, they don't have the coverage. Well, let's get on the city plane and I can have, new hips and I can have new knees and I can do that, and it's not going to cost me much. And I'm not saying all the spouses do it, but we do have some abuse out there. And that's where we're trying to weigh this out to where it's not a $600,000 loss a year. This may be the next step that we can take a little deeper dive into to say, okay, what portion of this is the plan? What's this? Is there a way to say, instead of paying a spouse paying $700 every week, you know, how do we accommodate in this plan? That spousal waiver to get rid of that is not a killer to this plan at this time. We've taken some pretty big steps to try to right what hasn't been done over 11 years. We've talked about in the committee is we've got to pay more attention to this. We have to be more open to this to our employees also, and say, okay, here's some of the changes. And I know this is just a shock because it hasn't changed in 11 years. But I think that portion, if we do strike that gives people time to think about it. It gives our employees time to say, okay, how about if we do this? We see other plans in that. So, and it's not going to be a killer to our plan. It'll be an aid, and it'll be a cost-effective aid to us. But maybe we kick that piece back a year and take a look at it, and maybe we find out really it's better to have it like it is today than it is to have the waiver. So I mean, it's not we're not in a crisis situation. We're not in a good situation, but it's not to the point to say we're cutting raises by 10%. We're everybody's going to pay for this. Everybody's pretty much over this years has managed the city. I'm talking about the council here. I'm talking about the departments. 2 guys working construction. Well, thank you for doing that. You know, we could have 4 or 5. Well, you guys have saved us money, so everybody's participated in saving this money. And how do we keep continuing making it as fair as possible and not burdening our employees from that standpoint? So to me, that part of the plan, you know, we keep chipping away, and we're actually having an insurance committee here, which is good. But to take that part of the plan, that won't affect a lot of our plan unless it's used at this point in time. We'll be able to tell more. So I don't. Maybe that's a piece that we take the baby step. Then we'll pull that piece out and move from there. So. And then really dive back into this earlier in the year and get this information from more people. So
we're gonna amend.
Well, I'd like to, if y'all, when y'all ready to do that, just withdraw, because
Yeah.
we've made so many changes. I'd like to withdraw, if Chief Detman will do that, just withdraw your earlier motion, and let's just start over.
Okay, well, I mean, you want me to restate my motion then?
Yeah, just withdraw it for the record.
You want to strike number 4, is that what the consensus of council is?
Well,
I mean, is that we haven't fully explored that.
I think so, because, you know, this is a hard thing. I know the insurance committee worked on this thing hard. Charlotte was on there, so she heard all this stuff, and I'm just amazed she didn't jump up and down on the table and say that we're not gonna do that, but. But.
That would have been more effective.
We need we have to make some changes, and we need to make it as less painful as we can. Right?
Well, I agree. But we've got to make changes.
Right.
You know.
So I don't have a problem with striking 4.
I'm fine with that as well.
Let me ask you this, are we on a better track this year than we were the previous 2 years?
My calculations were about $375,000 loss.
So far.
So far. And all claims, that's only through 9/30, so claims will continue to come in. There'll be some reinsurance in there because we have hit the spec again, the 5.
So if you had
claims.
to project, what would you think the red ink would be this year, based on what you have so far? Just guess.
I'm gonna go with 400,000 because there's still reinsurance to come back in.
That's what I was hoping you could say. So we're about a
So we're better. So.
We're still bad, but we're better.
Right. Yeah.
Not losing as much.
Do it on volume.
Let's strike option 4.
Why don't you withdraw your other motion?
Withdraw your motion and
Okay.
do a whole
I'll
new
withdraw my
motion.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can restate it then.
Well-
My motion would be that we go to option 2, which is the 50% option. That we, out of the 7 recommendations to the health, from the Health Insurance Committee, that we strike number 4, which is the working spouse waiver, and that we amend number 6, so that the retirees have the same options as the city employees, both in plans. In other words, they get to choose both the base or the premium plan for the same amount of money as a city employee.
For a year or?
Until we.
Will we do it again next year?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
again, next
okay.
year, until next October,
Okay.
during the enrollment period. It always has to go from enrollment period.
Okay, okay.
Can we make that the city contribution plus the employee contribution for the retirees? Not
Yes.
the city, not the employee cost, because the employee only pays their portion.
That's correct.
And the city pays $812.
How can you put that in
I
there?
don't know, how do you want me to put that? He said, in the same option, and
The
the
total-
retirees have the same options as the city employees on the base and the premium plan.
Although the retirees, the individual retiree pays his or her own premium, and then enjoys the same,
Not actual cost, because it's not the actual cost of the
then you
plan,
tell us how to
so-
say
Yeah,
it,
tell me
because
how
I'm
to
not
word that
sure.
then.
I would just say this, they're gonna pay the total city contribution plus employee contribution rate.
The retiree pays the,
City contribution plus employee contribution rate.
it's the city contribution plus the
Employee
Employee contribution rate.
Okay.
sorry, I just wanna make sure I got that right.
No.
That's a
And that is
mouthful.
We don't have a
second.
second.
I know we don't.
Okay.
Second.
And that is a side.
No, that's the same as-
We do have a second. We have a motion and a second. I'm scared to ask this question. Is there any more comments out there?
And there's a side to that, whether you wanna make it part of the motion or not, would be
You have to come up here, George.
that we revisit this
Oh, yeah.
every single
Year.
year, from now on. We
Yes.
can't let this 9-year thing or 11-year
Right,
thing
yeah,
go
it's
on.
got to
It's
happen
crazy.
every year.
And it's got to.
Yeah, yes, sir.
George.
We're all here because we love being here, we love working here.
Right.
I love working here, I want to make this my last job I ever had.
Well,
It's, we have gotten raises, that's very fair, it's been more than fair for the last 3 years. If this goes through, it's almost like we're giving you back all 3 of those raises that you gave us this year, for the last 3 years. It's kinda like that in our mind, because we're the workers, that's the way we're looking at it, cause we scrape to survive,
I understand.
and
I want to encourage you, as along with all the rest of the employees here, to come to some of our council meetings when we're discussing things like the ad valorem tax. Because, you know, 1 or 2 of us may be in favor of increasing it a little, and 3 aren't, or something to that effect. But if you guys can come in here and remind us what you're reminding us tonight, then that can make a huge difference on some of these raises that we need to make. We need to keep up with inflation. I fully agree with you. We need to keep up with the revenue we have coming in so that we can keep our employees. Because you guys are our biggest asset. You truly are.
Amen.
And without you guys out here, we're nothing.
Yeah.
And we're just the county again. But I really want to encourage some of you to come and speak up at some of our council meetings. Unfortunately, so many of our council meetings, it's these people you see up here in front and a few of the department heads. But, and with all due respect to my fellow council members and the department heads, we need to hear from the guys that have the boots on the ground.
I'd
We
have to
truly
get an
do.
interpreter. When you started talking about money, I understood that, but that all ad litem stuff, I don't know what y'all's talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah. Join the club, George.
What, just to break it down, what Charlie's saying is we need the encouragement. You know, it's hard to sit up here and raise taxes when everybody says don't. We don't want you to raise taxes. You know, and I agree with, Rick Little. I've lived in the city all my life. I was born and raised here. And I don't mind paying the taxes because I love my city. That's the reason I sit right here, because I love my city. And I want it to grow. I want to see Sebring become what it used to be. people coming here. And if you go out of town and you meet somebody that's been to Sebring for any kind of event, they'll tell you, I love that place. I love Sebring. It's such a nice place. So, and we want to keep it that way. We want it to grow. We want it to be a destination. So just work with us. And when we get this financial thing turned around, we can give back.
And I will also, from now on, from any insurance meeting we have, I will send a notice. If you have a city employee email, I will send it out massive to all the city employees. So if you have a fellow employee that may not have a city email, make sure that they know, or post it or something. But I will start doing that from now on, so that y'all at least know when the city insurance meetings are, so that if you can't come, you can at least call and get the minutes or do whatever. And we can, maybe you can keep informed also that way.
Are we done?
Detman.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes. Okay, let's move to 10F. That was exciting. Fanny?
You
got-
can't get rid of me.
Maybe you can make something a little better, a little shorter, maybe?
Definitely shorter. So 10F is the insurance amendment 2020-8. And what this amendment does is it deletes the optional retiree plan. It adds the basic high deductible and premium plan options. It adds Teladoc, Surgery Plus, preventive service coverage. Adds the maximum out-of-pocket limitations, expanded claims and appeal requirements, out-of-network emergency services, and routine costs associated with clinical trials. So these are all benefits that are included in what was just approved. And we have an amendment that will be distributed to employees and retirees.
Okay.
Didn't we tweak the optional retiree plan language? Do we need to adjust, do we need to do anything with 10F?
No, we actually removed the retiree optional plan. There is the regular retiree plan that is replacing that with the high deductible. So there's no more optional retiree plan going forward.
I don't understand that.
That's when you retire, Tom. You decide today, when you retire, you're gonna stay on the plan, or you don't?
No, that
That's
was,
not it?
that was Amendment 7.
No,
Okay.
This is the high deductible plan is being changed.
Right, but we're giving them the choice. just like
Correct.
an employee,
You're giving them the
base
choice,
or
you're giving them the choice
premium.
of what the regular employees.
They had this choice all along. You have a retiree regular plan, and you
Okay.
have a retiree optional
Oh,
plan.
I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay, very good.
The optional plan that had a $2,500 deductible,
Yes.
it's going away
It's going away.
because now we have the basic $2,500 deductible plan. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yes, sir. If I can get a motion and an approval.
That's what I was gonna ask for, a motion.
The last motion, so somebody else is gonna do this one.
I'll make a motion to
Make a
approve Amendment 2020-8 to the health insurance plan document as presented.
Second.
All right, any comments? If not, all aboard.
Detman.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes. Okay, we have someone from the audience. Wait a minute, Penny, we got one more.
I'm still here.
That's why she's
But I have great
Oh,
news. I have
sorry.
great news for you guys.
Okay,
You
I-
can strike that from the agenda now.
You just
Oh.
take off the agenda.
You can take Amendment 2020-9 off.
Okay, we're done?
Yes, sir.
So, see, I knew what I was doing, y'all just messed me up. Okay,
Point of order, do we need to address that though and say not to approve that amendment as it was on the agenda?
You can just pull it.
Or you
There's just no motion on it that it didn't happen.
Okay,
okay.
It never happened.
never happened.
All righty, we have William Ruley, Waste Connections.
Yep.
Come up and talk to us.
I'm not gonna, I'll get to that, 1 second. First of all, I'm gonna withdraw for tonight because of time constraints, and I feel that anything that I might say just pales in comparison to what went on tonight. And besides, there's a World Series game going on. And all that. I'm here to watch it. The score right now is nothing, top of the second.
Okay.
Go Rays.
But I will return to
Okay.
that. I have one big question. Am I at the right council meeting? Because my
Waste
issue,
connection?
If you're looking for the
The
county's
county?
hauler, then it,
yeah, it's the county's
Tuesday
hall. That's the
mornings.
county's.
Yes, sir. We're
Okay.
city.
Yeah, all right. I realized that about halfway through it. Duh. Okay.
Glad you came. You need to move into the city and we'll take care of your garbage much better than the
There
county.
you go.
Hey, they got to do better. I was the solid waste manager for Sunoco in their Philadelphia refinery. It's the largest refinery east of the Mississippi River. And we had this company, okay? I never had a problem, and I negotiated 2 contracts with them, and everybody was happy. This company is god awful. I mean, I don't know who did the contract. I guess it wasn't any of you guys.
No, that's county. That's county.
That's
That's
one thing we
not
didn't
us.
do.
I know how things work in Philly. Here's that brown envelope.
Kathy, you need
Anyway,
this
I taught. I was a substitute teacher for 11 years. I say was because I just resigned. In January, I went to their meeting, and they had the same problems that you do. They can't hold employees. They can't hire new employees. And I started 11 years ago and made the same money in 11 years that I did when I started. I said, you can't do that. And your teachers are the same way. So they're having the same, it's like it's systemic. Is there something in the water? It's really
2020.
nothing against the water company.
I'm gonna say, George, you better get back up here.
You're putting something in the water that's it's keeping brain cells from functioning in pairs. It's the same exact. I mean, it's a repeat. It's the same show on a different channel.
All right, come back another meeting, will you?
Okay, I will.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming.
That's all right.
Yeah, the World Series though.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 12A, the city attorneys.
yes, sir. Ordinance 1453 is on your agenda for second and final reading. For your consideration, the ordinance is entitled, an ordinance annexing the Highlands Mobile Village land lying in a portion of the northeast quarter of Section 26, Township 34 South, Range 28 East, Highlands County, Florida, into the city of Sebring, Florida, and establishing an effective date. The declaration of covenant for the annexation is attachment 2 of your materials.
You wanna make a motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance on second and final reading as presented.
Second.
We got a motion in 2 seconds. Does that make a 4?
Stewart was first here. It was a photo.
Okay, is anyone out in the audience want to comment on this? Anyone else up here? That's a scary question tonight. If not, pull the board.
Detman.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes. Okay, Mr. White?
Agenda item 12B is ordinance 1454 on your agenda for second and final reading to annex the Lakeview Mobile Village Mobile Home Park. That ordinance is entitled, an ordinance annexing the Lakeview Mobile Village land lying in a portion of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter and the northeast quarter of Section 23, Township 34 South, Range 28 East, Highlands County, Florida, into the city of Sebring, Florida, and establishing an effective date. Like the first, it has the declaration of covenant attachment 2 to your AIS.
I'll make a motion again, approve the ordinance on second final reading as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anyone want to make any comments? Kathy, please pull the board.
Detman.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Lucky number 12C is ordinance 1452 annexing the Sunny Pines RV and Mobile Home Park, and it's entitled, an ordinance annexing the Sunny Pines RV and Mobile Home Park land lying in a portion of the northeast quarter of Section 26, Township 34 South, Range 28 East, Highlands County, Florida, into the city of Sebring, Florida, and establishing an effective date.
You can
Okay,
if you want to.
I'll make the motion to approve the ordinance on second and final reading as presented.
Any comments? Kathy?
Denton.
Yep.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lance.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna move right on now to 13A, construction manager at risk. This would be our city administrator, Mr. Maitland.
Good evening, council. On the agenda tonight is the final bid RFQ to solicit proposals for a construction manager at risk for the renovations at the old Wachovia Bank Building on North Ridgewood Drive. I don't know whether or not each of you had an opportunity to take a look at it, but if you have, we're asking for any comment you may have. If it's acceptable the way it is, instruct staff to proceed with advertising RFQ and appoint an evaluation committee. And we're suggesting Mayor Shoup, Council President Carlisle, and Councilman Stewart to be appointed to that committee.
Thanks.
Does anyone wanna make a motion?
I just have a question, and again, how is our negotiation with the county going as far as this building?
I'm under the understanding that the county is looking at other properties as well, not necessarily in place of this property, but
In addition
they
to.
have other entities within the county that might be looking at buildings to purchase elsewhere in the county, so it may affect whether or not they were to proceed forth with the purchase of this property. But I will tell you that they're probably gonna stick pretty strong to I'm gonna say the $900,000 range for this property.
I didn't, what you said, Scott, what did you say?
That they're gonna stick pretty strong with their $900,000 offer, I
Okay.
believe. There's not been any formal ask of the county commission in that regard. That's just discussions with the county administrator.
So we're sending an RFQ out, we're not doing anything beyond that at this point.
Right.
Yes,
So
correct.
it's not, we should do it anyways.
Yeah.
When we get the response from this, then we'll make an evaluation.
You are not committing to going forward
Right.
with the project just by
Correct.
letting the
Right.
solicitation.
Right, so this is
It's kinda like,
information,
Yeah, we're not
kinda
spending money
finding
yet.
out.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, yeah,
no money.
okay.
Yeah, no money in there.
I'll make the motion then that we instruct staff to proceed with advertising the RFQ and appoint an evaluation committee as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Anyone wanna make anyone wanna discuss this? So, nope, yep, go.
Mika.
Yes, ma'am.
Denton.
Yes.
Ivy.
Yes.
Lance.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Carlisle.
Yes. And last but not least, Ms. Haley.
Second.
No, stop it.
So moved.
I'm not gonna say it again. Council needs to approve the payment of the bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's only I get the top.
I mean, does that mean we pay them twice?